$79. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1979. That's 800-777-1979. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1979. 800-777-1979.
Hey there, it's Billy with Inside Out Tax. I used to work for the IRS, and I help people every day get to the bottom of their tax problems. What most folks don't know is the IRS can show up at your door. These are field collection employees called revenue officers. If you've recently been visited by someone at the IRS, then give me a call to set up a free 30-minute consultation at 636-495-5700 or reach out to us through our website at insideouttax.com.
This Wednesday at 6 o'clock, 97.1 FM Talk brings you I'm Listening. An open conversation about mental health. You're invited to tune in for a self-checkup from 6 to 8. Or stream the event live through radio.com. I'm Listening. A conversation about mental health. This Wednesday evening on 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. Sean Hannity, Dave Glover, Annie Frey, Brian Kilmeade, Mark Cox. That's the lineup backward. Reminding you that you can rewind anytime at 971talk.com. The Annie Frey Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome into the Annie Frey Show. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway there, and I hope that we are all living on a prayer. 2020 has been quite a year, of course. We found out yesterday evening, that the president will be making his Supreme Court nomination Saturday at 5 p.m. So we look forward to that. We have a date and a time on that. That's good to hear. But we also just found out in the last hour or so that there's going to be a decision expected to be released in Louisville on the Breonna Taylor case. Fox News reports Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron is expected to announce a grand jury decision early Wednesday afternoon on whether criminal charges will be brought against 3 Louisville Metro police officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor. He's expected to make the announcement according to this Fox News article, around 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So that would be 12:30 our time. And Katie, you and I have heard that it might be a little bit earlier than that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we are ready to have that for you. So we are going to keep our eye on that news conference. And when it happens, we are going to go to it. So stick around. We will have that announcement right here on the Annie Frey Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Katie, real quick before we get to our guest, can you tell me a little bit, or Ryan, either one of you who knows a little bit more about this evening? There's a special broadcast on our station from 6 to 8 p.m. Either one of you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can kind of fill you in. So
Sure.
This is a sort of a mental health self-checkup. It's something that Entercom is doing. We're doing a broadcast nationally. There's going to be some stars, I think, some musicians and names you'd recognize that are just going to weigh in on the topic. And it's 2 hours long, 6 to 8 this evening. You can tune in anytime and just kind of see if anything strikes you as something that you identify with.
Yeah, and it's called I'm Listening. You might have heard some promos running on the air regarding that. We wanted to check in here with somebody who we've talked to several times over the course of this year. And it seems as though every time we have Lori Snyder on, who's a counselor at Associated Counselors of West County, that there's just like a whole new lump or layer of junk to add on to the stress that is this year. Lori, thank you for coming back. It's great to have you here again. Your insight on these issues is very important.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time with all the different things that are important going on to highlight this very important thing. Mental health is such a key part of our lives, something that we sometimes take for granted, not always, but to take a little time and consider the ways that life and events are affecting that and some things that we can do together. I'm really happy to play a part in that. And that the program tonight sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's
I'll
good.
Definitely tune in.
It's good to have the conversation and make it public, so that if something strikes you, I really believe that there are people in 2020 who may have never felt either anxiety or depression in their life before, that may not be able to identify it, because you can have your life going in a pretty solid, steady, predictable way, but the stresses that this virus has put on folks in an election year, and I remind people that there is anxiety that exists in an election year on both sides. It's probably something that we have most in common, that the burden of what we are fearing, the unknown, it weighs heavily. What is some advice, some free advice that we can ask from you right now for people to do as this anxiety kind of starts to creep in?
Yeah, I mean, just being aware of it, I think, is a really helpful thing, to know that in many cases, it's actually a normal response to things that are going on. And in some ways, our bodies are very designed to handle it. But when it's extended, when it's intense, when we're not used to it, it can sometimes really mess with us. It can affect certainly our moods, our interactions. And there are some things that we can do to manage that. I think in COVID, some of the things that have been really hard is our routines have just sort of been blown up. Some people, I think, are finding ways to get back to them a little bit. Schools restarted, although it's different for pretty much everybody. And so looking for routines, ways that you can create a routine, maybe where you don't have one. The time of day that you get up, the time of day that you end work, the time of day that you sit down and have a meal, those sort of restore a sense of balance inside of us. Physiologically, anxiety is adrenaline. It's like running a sprint all day long. We might feel it in our necks if we pay attention. We might feel it in our other muscles throughout our body, our stomachs, and to do some things to kind of reverse that, to slow down a little bit, to take some breaths. Deep breathing is one of the easiest things that people can do. We just kind of forget to do it. They've done some studies that kind of throughout the course of the day, we tend to hold our breath. Our shoulders raise considerably.
Do that.
And so just like slowing down, and even right now, as I'm talking, it might even trigger somebody to just, to take a breath. That's a good thing. Let your belly relax and expand a little bit, and then take that breath in and take a nice long exhale. Another very helpful one is we know that we need roughly 3 to 5 to 1 balance of positives to negatives to sort of maintain our okayness. So if we've got a lot of stuff that's causing, conflict and stress, we might need to be a little more intentional about paying attention to absorbing, focusing on the things that are okay, the things that are good, whether that's, the kind of day it is outside, or the people we have in our lives, or, something that we like in the refrigerator and actually really enjoy it while we're eating it.
Speaking of Ryan.
Hey, Lori, I have a dear friend who approached me, within the last month or so, probably end of August, and was going through some relationship problems. I don't think that's unique to 2020, but I do think with all the lockdowns, any problems that are already there are probably being exacerbated because you're with each other so much more. But he approached me and said, can you help me find a good Christian counselor or somebody? And he just asked me because he knows I'm more plugged into the church world. And I reached out a few times to different people. People seemed like they were booked up. So I just wondered if that was the case with you at Associated Counselors of West County. If people are looking for counseling, is it going to be tougher to find somebody this year?
I have heard that is that a lot of people are reaching out, which is really good. And, sometimes the supply demand can get a little backlogged. We've had some of that, some of those issues with other areas. In my practice, I definitely have been very busy. I try to work people in, but there are good ways to find people, through insurance companies, through referrals, through your doctor. And in the meantime, if they're, tuning into something like tonight, doing some of the things that maybe could restore a little bit of balance in the meantime, and then still take that step to connect with somebody is a good thing. But I do agree. I've heard that from a lot of people. I sure can't speak, across the board, but I think that it's true. It's been a little bit harder than normal to get into a counselor. But don't let that stop people from trying.
Sure, right.
We're speaking with Lori Snyder, who's a counselor here in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area. I want to ask you quickly, generationally speaking, I know I lost my grandmother last week, and there's been an interesting thing. Thank you. But for me, because COVID had caused me, she did not pass away with anything that had to do with coronavirus, but I have been protecting my children. I have been protecting myself. But my grandmother was 95. She died of natural causes. And I realize now there are several multiple times per day, I am realizing that I am worried about her. And now that she has, gone on to be with her maker, I have those worries that come up to me about the virus. And I realize I don't have to worry about that anymore, but I'm shocked at how frequently it's just coming into my mind without even a prompt that I realize is there. And I remember, she was pretty lonely. She was a widower, and it was hard on her. It's hard on kids. And then here I am thinking that I'm the one who's trying to, help with my mom, hold up all these people and try to make this normal. I'm realizing how much it was weighing on me. Generationally speaking, do you have any specific advice for people who might span the age range here? Because I think we're all handling this in a very different way.
Yeah. I mean, that awareness, again, is very helpful to know that probably each person that we interact with throughout our day and our week is having some sort of experience around the things that have been going on, and to have a little grace for that, to take a pause before we react or even sort of make a judgment about somebody, to listen. Maybe there's nothing that we can do about a situation, but just knowing that somebody cares enough to listen to or tune into our experience is very soothing. And to actually take the time for ourselves in that. We can sometimes give a lot to other people and forget to take a little bit to check in with ourselves. How am I handling that? Have I had a chance to grieve? When's the last time that I had a really solid laugh? And, what are the things that maybe have been cut out of my life because things have changed that I really need, that I miss? Is there a way that I can begin to bring those back in? And intergenerationally, so, with kids in school, maybe some of the things have come back to normal, but they may still need some extra time to play, to have extra downtime as the holidays approach. And we have to imagine how we're going to navigate and have conversations about that, to really just keep in mind that this is on everybody's mind. And we all have slightly different priorities around it, but to remember that what we have in common, that we care about each other, that we go through these cycles of life with jobs and school and illness and health and easy times, and checking in with each other on those and where they're at. I mean, I think that's what kind of makes us special as human beings.
Lori, thank you so much for coming on with us today. I think it's so important to take a moment to recognize that what we're going through right now isn't normal. And so your reactions to it, your emotional reactions, are not expected to be, air quotes, use that word again, normal. And to seek out help if you feel as though that would be beneficial to you is always something that we want to encourage as well. Lori, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. And we look forward to having you on again soon.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Lori Snyder, a counselor at Associated Counselors of West County, joining us. She's been on with us a few times throughout this pandemic. And it's good to have a voice that is calming and encouraging for all of us, because there is something that we're all dealing with, we're all dealing with this year exactly the same. I remember when it first came out, like you'd see celebrities who were reacting to the virus. And I'm like, oh, so celebrities get hit by the pandemic too. Like, this is a big thing. And it's interesting to manage the time between way back then to where we are right now, nearing the end of September, folks. It's almost October. Time is just flying by. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are monitoring the decision being announced in Louisville regarding the Breonna Taylor case. And we are going to have that for you right here on the Annie Frey Show. So you will hear it here. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. When that announcement is made, we are going to bring you right to it. And we'll be able to hear what they have to say from Louisville. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
My acres of land I've achieved. It may be hard for you to stop and believe, but for you, I leave it all.
Hey guys, Glover here. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the DGS.
Hello, fashion-conscious home lovers. Let's transform your lovely home's sense of fashion with the most beautifully current and stylish chic designer window treatments. Just contact Michael for an in-home visit at ProctorDrapery.com. 7 days. It's Proctor, spelled like doctor.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Infinite Wellness Center in Glen Carbon, Edwardsville is waiting for your phone call, 618-655-0333. When you go to see Dr. Ryan Cleland at Infinite Wellness Center, you are going to get those achy joints taken care of. You've probably had a steroid shot, or maybe that's been something that's been suggested to you in the past, or maybe you're taking some pain pills that can be dangerous if you take too many of them or have to take them for too long. Try Infinite Wellness Center. Ask about the regenerative medicine protocols, which can include stem cell if needed for knee pain, for arthritis pain. He has a solution for any budget. And depending on what kind of damage you've experienced so far, the care could be covered by insurance, including Medicare. This is a wonderful alternative to knee replacement and dangerous medications. And if you call 618-655-0333 and mention Annie, you can save 25% off for listeners of the show, up to $1,000 off care. Make sure you mention my name, Annie, 618-655-0333. I have used Infinite Wellness Center myself, and they are very kind, clean, wonderful place to be. You won't regret the phone call. 618-655-0333, infinitewc.com.
Hi, it's Michael Mohan with Community Mortgage. With all the bad news out there, it's easy to miss the good news. Mortgage rates are at historic lows, making now a great time to buy or refinance a home. My customers are locking in the best rates in a generation. Now is the time to use the equity in your home to cash out for a remodel, pay off high-interest credit card debt, or rid yourself of the dreaded PMI. During these volatile times, you need an experienced local loan officer working for you. Call me, Michael Mohan, at 314-336-6050. I'm here in St. Louis, and when you call, you talk to me. Whether you are purchasing or refinancing, I want to help you save money on your home loan. Michael Mohan at Community Mortgage, 314-336-6050. Online at communitymortgagestl.com.
Community Mortgage LLC, NMLS 250353224143.
National Rarities is a business that I have been talking to you about, a really cool business that buys stuff from you that is valuable, that's been sitting around your house that you don't really need. And hey, why not get some cash for it and get cash from people who know what they're talking about? GIA certified buyers. I met the coin expert, the gem expert that they had there. They have art experts. I mean, so many people in so many different realms of knowledge that can look at your item and make sure you get the most value for it that you can. Also, this is fun when you go to National Rarities, and they're located here in St. Louis, but they buy all over the country. You can go into the business there on Manchester and Mason, the corner of Manchester and Mason. And when you mention my name and tell them that you heard about him on the Annie Frey Show, you're going to get 10% more for your items, which is really cool. So reach out to them at 888-787-1112. That's 888-787-1112. Think about old jewelry, old items that you might have in your house or that you've inherited. Get the value for them that they deserve. NationalRarities.com.
Mark Cox here. If you need to drop a few pounds, call my friends at Slim 180. Get back in shape, feel great, keep the weight off. You can use their traditional program, the medically supervised HCG Rapid Weight Loss, or the new Quick Start Lipo-Lean. I use the HCG Rapid Weight Loss program, and the weight dropped off in a hurry, sometimes 1.5 pounds a day. All the Slim 180 centers are following COVID-19 guidelines to keep you safe. They've got gloves and masks and plexiglass dividers. You work with their counselors and their doctors one-on-one, either in person or remotely. They can even mail you products or have curbside pickup. You can schedule your free consultation today. They also work with flex spending and health savings account cards. 6 locations: O'Fallon, St. Charles, Sunset Hills, Creve Coeur, Chesterfield, and Florissant. Visit them online today and set up your initial appointment at myslim180.com.
Every day, Ameren, Illinois works to deliver reliable energy throughout the state to on-the-go families, new parents, in-the-know grandparents, busy students, night owls, weekend warriors, and more. But did you know we also have options to help manage and track your energy, like paperless billing, outage notifications, pick a due date, and so much more. So no matter who you are or how you use your energy, there's an option that's right for you. Learn more at amerenillinois.com/options.
The latest local forecast and severe weather coverage you can count on from the name in St. Louis weather.
This is 97.1's Chief Meteorologist, Dave Murray.
On 97.1 FM Talk, powered by Air Comfort Service.
And he knows it's gone. Don't wait for another. Falling he goes, and he cries all night. And slowly he thinks, can't wait for another. Tearing his soul, he screams inside. He says, I'm only while I've gone away, only every single day lonely. Well, I can't be so strong. Why don't you let me go? I've been in weakness and I'm hungry. That's why I've gone away only every single day lonely. Well, I can't run away. Why don't you let me go? Say
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Thank you for being with us today. We are monitoring the situation in Louisville right now. Katie, can you kind of tell us what's it like to be Katie Fitzpatrick right now while you're watching this? Tell us what is coming up and what we're doing here.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on, a lot of moving parts that happen throughout the show, especially because this is going to be huge news. This is going to be something that we talk about for the entirety of the show almost, and that can change a lot of different things that are happening right now in the course of unrest and violence in cities and whatnot. But I'm listening right now to Outnumbered, trying to keep track of when this grand jury is going to come out and say what's happening to these police officers. And we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on. And every second, you're just kind of tap dancing around what's happening here in the studio.
So, Ryan, have you been following the Breonna Taylor case closely?
I wouldn't say more closely than anything else. It's one of the stories that I've been watching, though.
It's to me, it's very interesting how the Breonna Taylor story is. I mean, the stove is full. The hot stove is there. It is full. So you can only handle closely, detail by detail, following so many stories at once. But this is a really big deal for the country. And first and foremost, politics is surrounding what's going on in Louisville right now, for sure. Like, I'm reading an article here because I was going to read from Fox News and tell you, here's the summary of what happened. And I wanted to kind of briefly give you the situation that's going on there. But I'm reading this Fox News article, and it's talking about the unrest that they've prepared for. It's talking about how the announcement will come from the Attorney General in Louisville, who's a Black Republican. And I mean, like, these are all important details, but how does this has nothing to do with what happened and what's about to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, It's like, here's all the things that make this more interesting. Well, what's the actual initial, story to begin with? And there are a lot of nuanced, that's my word. I need to stop using that word. There are a lot of important details that when you're talking about something that is this much of a flashpoint in this climate around what happened to Breonna Taylor, who was, as I understand it, asleep in her bed, and the suggestion or the insinuation was that there was a no-knock warrant. They came in, they killed Breonna Taylor while she was asleep in her bed. Now, there are other people who say there are more details than that did not get brought out into the open until it was baked in the cake. When we let's bring it home here. Ferguson, hands up, don't shoot. That's ours in St. Louis. We own that. Because that was a story that was run with by somebody who came back and completely recanted that testimony. It did not happen. Hands up, don't shoot is not a real story about something that happened with Michael Brown in Ferguson. It didn't happen. But it's too late. You're still going to go see hands up, don't shoot signs at these protests because it's resonated, it's there, and you're not going to go from person to person at these protests and be like, actually, I think it's important that you understand that hands up, don't shoot did not actually occur, and your sign is therefore false. And they're going to go, oh, whoops, I think,
let's get rid of the sign. Thank you, sir.
I needed that paper. I'm going to have to tape that back together. I mean, you're not, that doesn't matter. And it's no different with Breonna Taylor, with George Floyd, with Michael Brown, with all of these individual stories that are all very, very different. They get lumped together as if every detail of every story points to the same outcome when they don't. And I fear that when there's a moment where one of these stories should go the other direction, Michael Brown, Darren Wilson was found not guilty. I don't know how many people could go back to that story and name Darren Wilson's name, like who was the cop. They would know he was white and they would know he was a police officer. But I don't know how many people would say Darren Wilson. So I fear as though when it comes down to the details here, we are running out of care and concern about what the actual facts are because the narrative is already baked. So we are watching this right now. I think it is close. I think that we are very close to the announcement of what is actually going to happen here. And we are awaiting the grand jury ruling. And we have here a news alert from Fox, and it says, let's see. I want to make sure I get this right before I report this. According to Fox News headline, it says Kentucky grand jury indicts at least one police officer in Breonna Taylor death. Louisville braces for unrest. And we are waiting. Are they speaking on this right now, Katie?
They just released a lower third saying the grand jury indicts Officer Brett Hankinson on 3 counts of endangerment in Breonna Taylor's killing.
3 counts of endangerment.
Yep.
Which is, I think, isn't that like careless endangerment?
Mm-hmm.
So they will have a press conference here, and they have this is happening live. I wonder, should we stick with this and go live with it when it happens now, or do you want to take a break? And because they're not. What do you want to do, Katie?
Let's take a break, because I'm sure once we get back, we'll have more information on what is going on with these 3 counts and with this officer.
They're gonna have a press conference, and here's what we'll do. We'll take a break so that we can come to it live. If it comes back live while we're on the break, we'll come back in. Is that okay, Katie?
That's perfect.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to update and discuss this as well on the Facebook Live, facebook.com/Annie Frey Show. I will put up bits of information as they continue to come in here, so you can stick with us and be a part of the conversation here, because this is something we're going to have to watch for the rest of the week. I have a feeling that the implications of what's going to take place in Louisville, but across the country, potentially, the reaction to this, we're going to have to watch closely. So stick around. As soon as that Louisville press conference comes live, we are going to come break back in and have it for you. We're going to get a little break in here now so that we can bring it to you in full. Join us at facebook.com/Annie Frey Show, and you can comment along and be a part of the conversation there. Also on the Annie Frey YouTube page, subscribe. The Annie Frey YouTube page, you can watch us there also on your smart TV. We'll be back in just a minute with live breaking news on the Breonna Taylor indictments.
Hey, I know I'm on the way to find my home.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show.
Well, I will wait for.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Furnace tune-ups are recommended each year to keep your heating system running efficiently and extend its life. Schedule your furnace tune-up and safety inspection and get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Curtis and the whole staff at Complete Auto Body and Repair want to thank everyone for using them for their services. They are the leaders in the industry and always strive to be the best, so they now offer no-contact touchless auto repair. That means when you drop your keys off, they will sanitize your keys and fob. Technicians will sanitize before and after service. In addition, all repair authorizations will be done digitally after service. Your safety is the utmost importance to them as they sanitize their shops several times a day. They will even give you complimentary pickup and delivery via their towing partner, A2B Towing, and $150 off all hail repairs. To put it simply, they offer the complete experience. There are a wide variety of companies that can take care of your car and claim to go the extra mile, but how many of them follow through after you hand them your keys? This is where they show you Complete's mission. They are a family and will serve you as if you were one of their own. With 5 convenient locations, others can't compete with Complete. CompleteAB.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at ThrottleNet.com. So it's crazy time at ThrottleNet. They are IT geniuses, but they are a little bit nutty. Right now, they will pay you $250 for a conversation about your IT support because they value your time during the crazy pandemic. They'll give you the first 30 days for free, no charge for all of their services. And then they'll pay you another $1,000 if you decide to leave in the first 30 days for your trouble. They don't anticipate that you're going to leave, but if you do, they'll shake your hand, they'll put you back where you were, and they'll write you a check for $1,000. It is completely no risk, and they reward you for your time and for your effort. They are the best IT shop in the city, named number 1 5 years straight. They are good guys. Like I said, they are geniuses at protecting you, but they can communicate. They don't stare at their shoes. They look you in the eye, and they tell you what you need to know. ThrottleNet.com/971. Hey guys, Glover here, inviting you to join Thomas Helbig, the official St. Louis financial advisor of my show, for the last Protecting Your Retirement educational event of the year. It's Tuesday, October 6th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Call 855-755-1555 or go online to retirementkey.com to reserve your seat. Here's Thomas with more.
Are you concerned you won't have enough income in retirement to live comfortably? Or do you wonder how long your money will last? Did you know if you're 59 and a half or older or recently furloughed, you can now roll over your 401k tax-free and protect your nest egg from any market losses? If you're nearing retirement or already retired, you don't want to miss this last event. We're taking all precautions and following the CDC guidelines to keep everyone safe and healthy. We also have the biggest room available to keep our social distancing. See you Tuesday, October 6th at 6:30 p.m.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official St. Louis financial advisor of my show, Thomas Helbig, at the Frontenac Hilton on Tuesday, October 6th at 6:30 p.m. 855-755-1555 or online at retirementkey.com.
It's the 20th anniversary of 97.1, and we're celebrating 20 years of great Dave Glover Show moments with Michael's Flooring Outlet.
So this is a statue, and the title of the post is in all caps, My Lady. She looks like a stone, but she is really fiberglass and not so heavy. Previously decorated a hot tub room. I absolutely hate to lose her, but I have moved and I don't have a place for her. Here is a picture for the boys in the room. This is My Lady. She is quite gorgeous. She is a nude statue that previously adorned a hot tub room, which is something I've never heard of before.
I know all about this guy. I need to know. You're going to have to call Janet King to get this thing disinfected. Wow.
GTS 20. Listen. Mike of Michael's Flooring Outlet. Proud to be Dave's first live endorsement and being part of so many sweet memories for the past 20 years. Thank you again, St. Louis and the Dave Glover Show. 97.1. Rock on. Check me out. IGotFloored.com.
It's Decision 2020, and Radio.com has you covered. Take Mark Cox, Annie Frey, Dave Glover, and any show on 97.1 wherever you may roam. Stream the station live at 971talk.com.
Rolling wheels and
welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We are waiting right now the press conference that should be delivered from the Louisville, the Kentucky Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, on the Breonna Taylor decision. We have now discovered that Officer Brett Hankinson has been indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment in the Breonna Taylor killing. If you're curious about wanton endangerment, this is according to a quick Google search that has information from the Kentucky government website. Wanton endangerment is a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when in other circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. So that is what we have discovered as of right now. Listening and reading on the break here, we also know that there are 2 other officers that are involved in this situation. This is specific to this one officer, Hankinson, who I believe is a detective. And so what will happen to the other 2 officers? I don't think we have an answer on that quite yet. We are awaiting the Attorney General to come to the podium and speak and fill in a lot of the gaps here of what is going on. Katie is monitoring that right now in the studio to bring us to that when it happens. Katie, I told you before the show that I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak on this a little bit, because this is one of those things that I think generationally speaking, this is a very big deal to a lot of young people who have been outspoken on the Black Lives Matter movement. Breonna Taylor's name has been a part of the conversation. Really, I mean, since the George Floyd thing became a big deal, Breonna Taylor's name has always been around what is the unrest that has taken place there. And I know that there are a lot of people in your circle who are watching this very closely and care very deeply about the outcome here. And I think that I want to know kind of just your perspective on not necessarily what you want to have happen per se, but how big of a deal this is.
it's a very, very big deal, especially for the people that have been protesting since, I believe this happened March 13th. So right before everybody kind of had to go home and work from home and everything, people have been protesting since then about it. And I think it's a significant deal, a very big deal to a lot of people, because from what I can gather, a lot of people look at this as an innocent woman lost her life. And an innocent woman lost her life while she was in her apartment to police officers that blew down her door, knocked down her door. And the result, from what I can gather, is that a lot of people believe that if these officers are not charged, then what can't police officers do? And so, people post about Breonna Taylor, at least on my Facebook, on Twitter, every single day saying, do not forget about this. She needs justice. We cannot rest until she gets justice. And it's just been something that a lot of people have been anticipating and watching closely since March. So, I mean, to me, it's just so significant. And why it matters is because from April, we have been seeing unrest. We have been seeing nothing but unrest and violence in the streets. And if something happens today, I'm worried about what's the next step.
Do you think that there's one outcome that's going to cause less unrest than the other? Because I remember when Darren Wilson we were waiting the trial conclusion with Darren Wilson. We weren't 100% sure, at least as a station here, which outcome. I mean, we assumed that if he was found not guilty, it would be problematic. But if he was found guilty, then it's a confirmation in what the protests that were already in existence. It's a confirmation of what they're saying. So I don't know. I don't know what outcome here from an unrest standpoint is better to quench that anger and that reaction. But also I feel very, very much so as if we need to remember that regardless of the reaction, justice is blind. And we need to make sure that we need to want the truth and we need to want justice, because if you are ever somebody who is on the other side of a mob and the mob is screaming for something at you that would not be justice, you would not want to have to suffer the consequences of what the mob wants for the sake of the truth. And I'm not saying that's happening here, but that is definitely something, when it comes, good grief, we don't presume people innocent in a courtroom. Mm-hmm. You are assumed innocent. You are innocent until you have been proven to be guilty. This is a grand jury indictment. This is not a ruling. There's been no court case to determine whether Hankinson is guilty of these crimes. This is to determine if he will be charged with a crime, and then there will be a court case. And then once there is a court case, then since we now have an indictment, then we will find out if he is guilty or not guilty. If you cannot prove guilt, you are not guilty. You are not presumed innocent. And I think that's something that when the flames get so hot right now, and I mean that figuratively speaking, when the issues become so explosive, you can look at it from the outside looking in and saying, I just want this unrest to stop. And if it's one life that is going to cause less unrest, was he guilty? Should he have done that? Should he not have done that? Did he commit a crime? That's the question that we need to know. And if he did commit a crime, he needs to pay the consequences for that crime. And I would hope that we would hold these officers, law enforcement, to the highest standard in following the law. That they do have to meet a higher standard because they're there to enforce it, and they are given the authority to speak on these issues in a way that it gives them power over their fellow citizens that they need to be held in check, very much so. I feel like we're getting kind of close. Are we getting close to this?
We're getting very, very close. I can actually pot it up. He's going to be walking out to the podium here he's walking out right now.
All right. The Kentucky Attorney General speaking on the indictments, 3 indictments in the Officer Hankinson case, one of the officers in the death of Breonna Taylor. Let's listen in to what the Kentucky Attorney General has to say.
He's charged, if he's convicted. He has not been convicted yet, but I expect people to be completely dissatisfied with this indictment, whether the AG presented the case for this indictment for wanton endangerment, or whether it was an investigatory grand jury that came up with this charge. In other jurisdictions, this would be a manslaughter, but every state has its unique charging system.
All right, Scott, we're going to go straight to the news conference now. The Kentucky Attorney General. Let's watch.
The last month to meet in person with her and other members of Miss Taylor's family, including Miss Bianca Austin and Miss Janiyah Palmer. I want to once again publicly express my condolences. Every day, this family wakes up to the realization that someone they loved is no longer with them. There's nothing I can offer today to take away the grief and heartache this family is experiencing as a result of losing a child, a niece, a sister, and a friend. What I can provide today are the facts, which my office has worked long and hard to uncover, analyze, and scrutinize since accepting this case in mid-May. I urge everyone listening today to not lose sight of the fact that a life has been lost, a tragedy under any circumstances. The decision before my office as the special prosecutor in this case was not to decide if the loss of Miss Taylor's life was a tragedy. The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. There is no doubt that this is a gut-wrenching, emotional case, and the pain that many people are feeling is understandable. I deeply care about the value and sanctity of human life. It deserves protection. And in this case, a human life was lost. We cannot forget that. My job as the special prosecutor in this case was to put emotions aside and investigate the facts to determine if criminal violations of state law resulted in the loss of Miss Taylor's life. This included examining the actions of Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Detective Brett Hankinson, and Detective Miles Cosgrove, the 3 officers who fired their weapons in the early morning hours of March 13th. In working with our federal partners on this case, it was determined that while we would share information to advance our respective investigations, we must also maintain some level of separation to ensure the integrity of each investigation. When examining issues regarding potential civil rights violations, we determined that any such violation are better addressed through a federal-led investigation, and issues involving potential criminal acts concerning the shooting are better addressed by a state-led investigation. With this in mind, our investigation focused on the events that took place in Miss Taylor's apartment on March 13th. In the months since taking this case, our dedicated team of prosecutors and investigators with more than 200 years of combined career experience conducted a thorough investigation to better understand the events that led to Miss Taylor's death. The team is here with me today. I want to personally and publicly thank them for their tireless work. These men and women are true public servants who for months have shown up every day with a desire for one thing, and that is to seek the truth. We decided while we would examine materials gathered by LMPD's Public Integrity Unit, we would need to conduct our own independent investigation and start from scratch in the interest of thoroughness, fairness, and finding the truth. There was no video or body camera footage of the officers' attempted execution of a search warrant at Miss Taylor's residence. Video footage begins at the point that area patrol officers arrive at the location. Therefore, the sequence of events from March 13th had to be pieced together through ballistics evidence, 911 calls, police radio traffic, and interviews. We utilized information from the Kentucky State Police, local medical examiners, as well as working with the FBI crime lab in Quantico to secure a trajectory analysis and ballistics report. Our team conducted interviews in this case and spent thousands of hours examining all of the available evidence. We concluded our last interview in this case this past Friday and began our grand jury presentation on Monday. As long as the case is making its way through our legal system, I can only speak in general terms about our independent investigation and findings. As the prosecutor, I am prohibited by the Kentucky Rules of Professional Conduct from making public comments that could in any way prejudice this case as it moves forward. Each state has different rules about what prosecutors can and cannot say. The Kentucky rules are clear that I'm prohibited from making comments that could sway public opinion or heighten public condemnation of those involved in the case. These are crucial rules to ensure due process under the Constitution. When prosecutors prematurely release information about the case to the public, it can risk justice by poisoning the jury pool, violating the accused's rights to a fair trial, and even jeopardizing the final verdict. The success of our legal system is predicated on the principle that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. Despite passions, opinions, and desire for every detail to be known, the rule of law must apply. Justice must be done. In the early morning hours of March 13th, officers from LMPD executed a search warrant at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4. This was Miss Breonna Taylor's residence. The officers were advised by superiors to knock and announce their presence in serving this specific search warrant. The scope of our investigation did not include the obtainment of that warrant by LMPD's Criminal Interdiction Division. Federal law enforcement partners are conducting that investigation. Sergeant Mattingly and Detectives Cosgrove and Hankinson had no known involvement in the preceding investigation or obtainment of the search warrant. They were called into duty as extra personnel to effectuate the service of the search warrant. They only had information conveyed to them during their prior briefing. Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in a proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there is no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicates that only one shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through a bedroom window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child. There is no conclusive evidence that any bullets fired from Detective Hankinson's weapon struck Ms. Taylor. The KSP ballistics analysis did not identify which of the 3 officers fired the fatal shot. After receiving that information, I asked the FBI crime lab to conduct its own analysis to see if they reached the same results. The FBI ballistics analysis concluded the fatal shot was fired by Detective Cosgrove. Our office looked at both reports to determine if there were major differences in the procedures used by each lab that would have led the FBI to identify who fired the fatal shot. Both law enforcement agencies use similar equipment and analysis, and each lab is highly respected for their work. There was nothing our investigators could point to, nor anything provided by the respective agencies that directly explains why one lab made the call while another did not. I think it is worth repeating again that our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Secondary to this justification, the KSP and FBI ballistics analysis reached different conclusions, creating a reasonable doubt in the evidence about who fired the fatal shot. I certainly understand the public's desire for answers, and many have questioned the length of the investigation. Simply put, we had to try every means necessary to determine who fired the fatal shot before the investigation could be completed. With a thorough and complete knowledge of all evidence collected in this case, lawyers with our Office of Special Prosecutions presented the findings of our independent investigation before a grand jury comprised of Jefferson County residents beginning on Monday and concluding today. In Fletcher v. Graham, the Kentucky Supreme Court said that the grand jury has competing but balanced functions. On the one hand, its purpose is to investigate allegations of criminal conduct and determine if there is probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. On the other, the grand jury serves to protect the public against unfounded criminal prosecutions where probable cause is lacking. The grand jury is unique in our criminal justice system because it operates independent of the court and the prosecutor. The hallmark of the grand jury is its independence from outside influence. This independence is necessary to ensure that justice is done both for the victims and for the accused. After hearing the evidence from our team of prosecutors, the grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson for 3 counts of wanton endangerment for wantonly placing the 3 individuals in apartment 3 in danger of serious physical injury or death. The charge of wanton endangerment in the first degree is a Class D felony, and if found guilty, the accused can serve up to 5 years for each count. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. My office is prepared to prove these charges at trial. However, it's important to note that he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During the last 6 months, we've all heard mention of possible charges that could be brought in this case. It's important to understand that all the charges that have been mentioned have specific meanings and ramifications. Criminal homicide encompasses the taking of a life by another. While there are 6 possible homicide charges under Kentucky law, these charges are not applicable to the facts before us because our investigation showed and the grand jury agreed that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Let me state that again. According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. This justification bars us from pursuing criminal charges in Miss Breonna Taylor's death. The truth is now before us. The facts have been examined, and a grand jury comprised of our peers and fellow citizens has made a decision. Justice is not often easy, does not fit the mold of public opinion, and it does not conform to shifting standards. It answers only to the facts and to the law. With this in mind, we must now ask ourselves, where do we go from here? Will we continue to prosecute the charges brought in this case as it now proceeds through the justice system and moves to trial? That is our responsibility. And this will be done while the FBI continues its investigation into potential violations of federal law. I know that not everyone will be satisfied with the charges we've reported today. My team set out to investigate the circumstances surrounding Ms. Taylor's death. We did it with a singular goal in mind, pursuing the truth. Kentuckians deserve no less. The city of Louisville deserves no less. Every person has an idea of what they think justice is. My role as special prosecutor in this case is to set aside everything in pursuit of the truth. My job is to present the facts to the grand jury, and the grand jury then applies those facts to the law. If we simply act on emotion or outrage, there is no justice. Mob justice is not justice. Justice sought by violence is not justice. It just becomes revenge. And in our system, criminal justice isn't the quest for revenge. It's the quest for truth, evidence, and facts, and the use of that truth as we fairly apply our laws. Our reaction to the truth today says what kind of society we want to be. Do we really want the truth, or do we want a truth that fits our narrative? Do we want the facts, or are we content to blindly accept our own version of events? We as a community must make this decision. I understand that Miss Breonna Taylor's death has become a part of a national story and conversation. But we must also remember the facts and the collection of evidence in this case are different than cases elsewhere in the country. Each is unique and cannot be compared. There will be celebrities, influencers, and activists who, having never lived in Kentucky, will try to tell us how to feel, suggesting they understand the facts of this case and that they know our community and the Commonwealth better than we do. But they don't. Let's not give in to their attempts to influence our thinking or capture our emotions. At the end of the day, it is up to us. We live here together. We work here and raise our families here together. I urge those protesting on the streets to remember this. Peaceful protests are your right as an American citizen. Instigating violence and destruction are not. I've spoken with both Mayor Fisher and Governor Beshears in the days leading up to this announcement, and I urge them to do what is necessary to maintain law and order and to protect our cities and our people. We have a long road ahead, both as we pursue this case through the criminal system and as we address the pain in the Louisville community. I'm committed to being part of the healing process. When tragedy occurs, we must mourn. We must also do everything we can to prevent it from happening again. Today, consistent with that view, I'm announcing that I will create a task force to review the process for securing, reviewing, and executing search warrants in Kentucky. The task force will consist of a variety of stakeholders, including citizens, members from the law enforcement community, representatives from the judiciary, defense attorneys, and elected leaders. I'll be issuing an executive order in the coming days to create this task force. I believe conducting a top-to-bottom review of the search warrant process is necessary to determine if changes are required and establish best practices. You have my word that I will also vigorously prosecute the criminal charges announced today. I can assure you that my team of prosecutors will continue to give this case their attention and time. We'll also continue to support the good men and women of our law enforcement community who put their lives on the line every day to protect and to serve. And I will fight for those across our state who feel like their voice isn't heard, who feel marginalized, judged, and powerless to bring about change. In a world that is forcing many of us to pick a side, I choose the side of justice. I choose the side of truth. I choose a path that moves the Commonwealth forward and toward healing. You have that choice as well. Let's make it together. Thank you, and God bless. I'll now take some questions. I won't get into the specifics of the makeup of the grand jury.
Yeah, just you mentioned that Breonna Taylor was hit by 6 bullets. You identified the one that killed her. Who shot the other 5 bullets? And did any of Hankinson's bullets hit Ms. Taylor?
Based on the evidence, there's nothing conclusive to say that Detective Hankinson's, any of his bullets hit Ms. Taylor.
I'm just curious what your message would be to the family and those who support her in the community, because based on what you're saying today, the grand jury basically found that none of the officers involved are directly responsible for Breonna Taylor's death.
Well, as I said from the beginning, and I appreciate that question, this is a tragedy. And sometimes the criminal law is not adequate to respond to a tragedy. And I fully acknowledge that. And I know many that are watching today and those that are listening recognize that as well. But the response is that the grand jury was given all of the evidence, presented all of the information, and ultimately made the determination that Detective Hankinson was the one to be indicted.
To be clear, did your special prosecutors make a recommendation to the grand jury?
Grand jury proceedings are secret, and so I'm not going to get into the specifics of details about that proceeding. What I will say is that we presented all of the information, and they ultimately made a determination about whether to charge. In this instance, they decided to indict Detective Hankinson.
When it comes to officers firing in self-defense, do you think state law needs to be changed?
I'm sorry, say that again?
When it comes to officers firing back in self-defense, do you think the current state law needs to be changed to fit cases like this?
Well, what my role as the special prosecutor in this case was to provide the information and facts to the grand jury. Detective Cosgrove and Sergeant Mattingly were justified in returning fire because they were fired upon. I'll leave it to others to make determinations. We have vigorous self-defense laws in this state, and that is something that existed prior to this case. I'll let others make judgments about that. Yes, sir.
One big question surrounding this case is whether or not the officers knocked and announced their presence. Talk about the evidence that you came to that they did announce their presence.
Yes, the statements that were made by officers there the night or the morning of March 13th show that they did knock and announce. The important point here is that information was corroborated by another witness who was in close proximity to apartment 4, who corroborated that information and said that there was a knocking and announcing by the officers. The witness was a civilian.
If a wanted maybe takes place while there is a death involved, would that not be a manslaughter charge? If there was a death that occurred during a wanted endangerment?
Well, Chris, to your question, I think it, again, is important to step back and recognize that what we did was uncover all the information and facts related to the morning of March 13th, and then provided that information to the grand jury. The grand jury had every piece of detail needed to make their assessment and their judgments. And ultimately, their conclusion was that the decision needed to be made to indict Mr. Hankinson.
Mr. Cameron, Rukmini Kalimaki with the New York Times. Right here,
I'm
sir.
sorry, yes, ma'am.
Hi, 2 questions for you. Number 1, you said that she was shot 6 times, yet her death certificate says 5. Can you please explain the discrepancy? And the second thing is journalists in this room, myself included, have taken apart that apartment complex looking for witnesses to the point that you made about the knocking and announcing. Of a dozen witnesses that I spoke to, only one, a man who was directly upstairs, heard them announce. Do you think that's enough in the middle of the night when somebody is asleep for just one person in a tight-knit apartment block to have heard that? Is that a sufficient way of announcing?
Well, let me try to answer your second question first. Your question was, is it enough for me? I think the more pertinent question is, what was the evidence provided to the grand jury? What was sufficient for their purposes? They got to hear and listen to all the testimony and made the determination that Detective Hankinson was the one that needed to be indicted, knowing all of the relative points that you made. As to your first question, can you repeat it one more time?
Her death certificate says 5, and yet you are saying 6. Today's the first time I'm hearing 6.
Yes. So there is a bullet that was lodged, and bullet might be too generous a term. There was an object that was lodged into one of her feet, and so that is what is being referred to as the 6th, I guess, projectile.
Are you going to release the full? Are you going to release the full grand jury report?
Can you say that one more time?
Are you going to release the full grand jury report?
Well, I am right now, because there is a pending indictment. I think it is our practice, and because there is an ongoing FBI investigation, to revisit that question. But at this point, I don't think it's appropriate for us to release any information.
Just for clarification, you said that Hankinson fired 10 times from outside apartment 4 and into apartment 3 with no conclusive evidence any of those shots hit Taylor. Can you expand on that?
Well, that is what the evidence shows, is that there was nothing conclusive to demonstrate that any of his bullets hit.
The door open for the fact that maybe one of the shots did hit her? Or?
Well, again, all the evidence was given to the grand jury, and they made the decision that wanton endangerment was the charge to file or to against Mr. Hankinson.
Okay, and thank you.
Yes, Wendy. Well, your last question about providing information. In any investigation, criminal investigation, the best practice, and this is whether on the state or federal level, is to not make too many specific comments about the investigation because you do not want to compromise that investigation. There are also ethical considerations as investigators and prosecutors that we're responsible to abide by as well. Some of those obligations continue now because we have a responsibility to pursue the prosecution against Detective Hankinson. It's my judgment very early on that we needed to take this case in the Attorney General's office. As you know, the Commonwealth's attorney was conflicted out of this case because of another matter that he was pursuing. I could have farmed the case out to another Commonwealth's attorney in one of our 120 counties. Instead, I did not do that because the resources that we have to bring to bear and the relationships that we have with our federal partners, in my judgment, were needed to uncover the truth in this case. And part of the reason the investigation took so long is because we needed to make sure that we were doing a thorough job of looking at all the facts and gathering all the materials, interviewing witnesses, making sure that all of our people felt confident in their presentation to the grand jury. I will remind you, as late as Friday, we were still interviewing people in this case. And so the length of it is because this case deserved thorough and fair analysis. That was needed and deserved by Breonna and by her family, for the officers involved, for the community of Louisville, and for the Commonwealth. We needed to have a thorough investigation. We also got the FBI involved in terms of the ballistics report. We needed additional, their ability to scrutinize and make an independent assessment as well. And so the length of the investigation was a reflection, I hope people understand, of how important it was that we got this right. We didn't want to rush it, and we did not. And I'm grateful to the team that is behind me for the work that they did. Look, over 200 years of combined experience. These are prosecutors and investigators who don't care about political distinctions, don't care about influence in any particular regard. What they care about is the truth. And we presented that to the grand jury.
Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Attorney General, right now laying out some very breaking news. And you know, I'm reading a lot of the comments here that we have from people that are discussing this right now with us on the Facebook Live, the Annie Frey Show Facebook Live, as well as the Annie Frey YouTube page. And a lot of people saying, you know, these aren't necessarily new facts. This is information that has been out there, but it has not been covered. Real quick, before we go to a break, I want Ryan to go through. He's got a timeline of what we have just learned here from the Kentucky Attorney General about what took place in the death of Breonna Taylor. And I would also add that the Attorney General has said multiple times that this is a tragedy. And the indictments that have now come out for this one officer, Hankinson, who has been indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment. Ryan, real quick before we go to a break, give us the timeline of what we know now here.
The 3 officers involved were Mattingly, Cosgrove, and Hankinson. They used a no-knock warrant to enter the apartment of Breonna Taylor shortly before 1 a.m. on March 13th. They're looking for drugs and cash as part of a larger narcotics investigation connected to her former boyfriend. When the door burst open, Taylor's boyfriend at the time, Kenneth Walker, fired a single shot from his Glock handgun. Police said that round hit Mattingly in the thigh, severing an artery. Mattingly, Cosgrove, and Hankinson then fired 24 rounds in response, spraying the apartment.
Just to reiterate there, that the first shot was fired by whom?
By Taylor's boyfriend, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. He fired a single shot and it hit Mattingly in the thigh and severed an artery. They then responded in fire and hit Breonna Taylor. This says 5 times. Now the AG just said 6 times. Taylor, who was unarmed, died there in her hallway. And Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend, survived.
We have confirmation from the Attorney General it was not a no-knock warrant. We have confirmation from the Attorney General that Breonna Taylor was awake, as I understand it. Am I correct in that? I do not want to get this wrong.
That is correct.
Breonna Taylor was awake and with her boyfriend. She was not asleep in her bed.
Correct.
They announced their presence. They knocked on the door. They entered. The officers were fired upon. They returned fire and they took the life of Breonna Taylor. That is where we are right now. 1 officer has been charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment. Ryan, your confirmation that the other 2 officers have been cleared of charges. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mattingly and Cosgrove have been cleared of charges.
And is that information from USA Today, just to give credit from where we...
Yes, it is.
We pulled that from. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Is Jory Murdoch going to be with us when we come back?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm excited to talk to him about this news as it is breaking. We are absorbing this as it happens. Please join us in our conversation here on our Facebook Live page, on the Annie Frey YouTube page as well, and let us know what you're thinking. We are going to continue to cover this with DeRoy Murdoch when we come back. We're going to cover it with Tim Jones as well, and your discussion as well online as we move through this. Breaking news: one officer charged with 3 counts in the Breonna Taylor case, and a lot of other facts coming out as well. We'll be back with DeRoy Murdoch in just a minute.
Lately, I have desperately wanted.
Southern Armory, all your self-defense needs in one spot. Whether it's a firearm, a holster, training, pepper spray, ammunition, everything you need. Southern Armory. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
With all the uncertainty in the world today, our mental wellness is being tested like never before. I'm Listening is here to help and remind you that you are not alone. Join us today at 6 p.m. for a 2-hour in-depth discussion with members of TLC, Guns N' Roses, Alanis Morissette, John Bon Jovi, Jewel, and many more, along with some of the most respected names in helping and healing to share their thoughts. For more, visit imlistening.org. Remember, talk has the power to save lives.
Think about the holidays coming up. Have you always wanted to have a brand new kitchen that you can cook in, that you can bake in, that you can decorate for holidays? Well, I want to introduce you to Lakeside Renovation and Design. These folks have been doing business in the bi-state region for decades. They are very good at what they do. And personally, I'll just give you a personal anecdote myself. The many times that I have met them, that I have sat and talked to them, especially Candace and the whole group there at Lakeside Renovation and Design, they are so good at what they do, and they're really kind. They do it the right way. They care about the simple things like cleaning up the job site each day or making sure that they simply show up on time for the job that they're doing in your home. That might sound basic, but it's not something that everybody else can boast. Lakeside cares about this, and it really shows. If you have a project inside or out that you are looking to get done here at the end of 2020 or maybe even going into the new year, start the conversation now with Lakeside Renovation and Design. Find them online at lakesidерenovationanddesign.com.
Take a moment and rate your lifestyle on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is a life that's nothing like the life you were promised after getting good grades, a college degree, and a good job in corporate America. 10 is the life of your dreams. If you answered anything less than a 10, tune into the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Del, self-made millionaire and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, will show you how to live the life of your dreams and pay for it with passive income.
Tune in to the Del Walmsley Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. Weeknights at 7 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm here in St. Louis. I've been warning our clients that IRS employees are back at work since mid-July, and their collection efforts have ramped up. Well, sure enough, it looks like it's happening. So if you have unfiled tax returns, wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, now's the time to call the Lance Drury Law Firm before the IRS calls you. Tax resolution plans are based off your current income. So if your current income is less than normal due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this is precisely the time for the Lance Drury Law Firm to help you. Your consultation is free, so don't put it off. The Lance Drury Law Firm focuses solely on tax resolution law. It's all we do. And if you have IRS problems, you have legal problems. Let us use our tax law resolution experience to guide you and work on your custom resolution plan. Call now. It's free and confidential. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y law.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Now's the time to get in for the last Protecting Your Retirement educational event with Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group. Here's the website right now if you want to go check it out, retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com. Go and find out about all of what Retirement Advisory Group has to offer. But you can go to this event. It's Tuesday, October 6th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Make sure that you reserve your spot. These are so helpful. These are just so informative about how to make sure that as you are nearing retirement in your late 50s and in your 60s, and you want to make sure that you're safe, that all that hard work you've put into saving for retirement, that it's going to be there for you, that you're not going to have any surprises. Well, that's what Thomas is an expert at. 855-755-1555. That's 855-755-1555. Call to reserve your spot today. Mention the Annie Frey Show when you do. You can also go online to retirementkey.com.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Check out our 2020 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
She got out of town on a railway, New York bound, took all except my name. Another alien on Broadway. Well, some things in this world you just can't change. Some things you can't see.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Thank you for being with us. We have just listened to the Attorney General from Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, talking about the indictment of Officer Hankerson, and he has been charged with, from a grand jury, 3 counts of wanton endangerment, and the other 2 officers have been they're not going to be charged with anything. The timeline of events, real quick before we get to Roy here, Ryan, real quick, go through that timeline once again for people who are just joining us. There are some key details that have not been part of the narrative up until this moment. And Ryan, just line by line timeline of what took place that evening.
So on March 13th, just before 1 a.m., the 3 officers, Mattingly, Cosgrove, and Hankinson, entered, and we apparently were finding out today that they had, as far as we understand, they had a no-knock warrant, but they didn't use it. They did announce that they were coming in as part of a drugs and cash narcotics investigation connected to Breonna Taylor's former boyfriend. When the door burst open, Taylor's current boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, fired a single shot from his Glock handgun. The police said that round hit Mattingly in the thigh, severing an artery. Mattingly, Cosgrove, and Hankinson then fired 24 rounds in response, spraying the apartment and hitting Taylor at least 5 times. I think the AG just said 6. And then Taylor, who was unarmed, died in her hallway. Walker survived.
So that is the detail that has been given to us now. And I'm going to get straight to our guest here, DeRoy Murdoch, joining us, who's a Fox News contributor. And anything that I wanted to talk to you about before this afternoon, I would love to get your reaction now, DeRoy, to the news that has just been released with Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Attorney General. Your reaction to this timeline, the charges, the tragedy of the loss of Breonna Taylor's life. What's your reaction?
Well, great to be with you and your listeners. And again, every 20 minutes, it's something else. So my reaction to this is that Breonna Taylor, unlike a lot of other people who have been involved in these excessive police situations, was not in the middle of a crime and turned away or somehow involved in some police confrontation. She was asleep in bed, as far as we can tell, or maybe just in bed after having been awakened by the cops coming through the front door. Obviously, they overreacted. They should have knocked on the door. It was even before that. They were at the wrong door. There was a mistaken address. So they should have known where they were and gone to the right location, not the wrong location, awakened 2 innocent people and killed one of them. So that's the first thing. So this is yet another example of when the cops do these sorts of things, they got to make sure it's the right address, not the wrong address. So that's the first and most fundamental error they made. It's a massive tragedy. Breonna Taylor is dead. She didn't deserve this. She did absolutely nothing wrong. I do think that this has been adopted by Black Lives Matter and a lot of these other far-left groups as yet another example of systematic racism, institutional racism, anti-white, or rather anti-black bigotry on the part of white supremacists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see anything in this case to indicate that they were targeting Breonna Taylor because she's black, attacking her boyfriend because he's black, anything like that. This is a case of a mistaken address, wrong place, wrong time, and they probably could have knocked on the door and ask them to open rather than, announce they're coming and knock the door down. Obviously, they thought they were dealing with drug dealers rather than just a couple lying in bed. But that excessive policing and this massive, massive mistake of being in the wrong place at the wrong time is what unfortunately led to the death of Breonna Taylor. I don't think it was a result of anti-Black racism, white supremacy, or the alleged systematic racism that has been that Black Lives Matter and Antifa say is at the heart of this country and its entire being.
DeRoy, we just took the entire press conference from Republican, I shouldn't say why that matters. I just said Republican AG Daniel Cameron from Kentucky. He seemed to indicate that a lot of the details that we've all assumed were true, like some of the ones that you were just saying, that they went to the wrong address. I'm not seeing any of that in this, that they actually were seeking out Breonna Taylor because she was dating someone who might have been harboring drugs and cash. And so is it possible that some of those details are that we all assumed were factual are not?
It could be. My understanding was that they were in the wrong place. Now, it could be that they were looking for the boyfriend whom Breonna Taylor may have dated at some point. He wasn't there. He was somewhere else, so they should have figured that out. But a lot of these details, which when you hear them, turn this case and other cases into something much less, forgive the expression, black and white than what Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the others would like us to believe. It turns out there are extenuating circumstances. So, for example, in the case of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a few weeks ago, that was presented as this white man is driving, or this black man is driving around with his kids. The cops decide to drag him out of his car and shoot him in the back, and now he's paralyzed. And then it turns out that he is a guy with some sort of a record of sexual assault. He was at the home of his former victim. She called the police, fearing that her safety was in danger. He resisted arrest. At some point, pulls out a knife. The cops chase him around. They tase him. That doesn't work. And then in the middle of all this, he gets shot in the back. Much different story than innocent black man gets shot by racist white cops. So in many of these instances, even going back to the Rodney King case, when we saw the Rodney King video, most of the video, you just see a bunch of white cops beating this poor black man on the ground with sticks. If you watch the whole video, you see that he was on, I believe, angel dust. They were trying to get him under control after he'd been speeding at, 80, 90 miles per hour in a suburban neighborhood, I think in Sylmar, California, if I remember correctly. And they were sitting on him, trying to get him to heal, if you will. He wouldn't. He got up and physically threw these cops off his back. They tased him. That didn't work. And so the next step was to beat him with sticks till he could be arrested. If that didn't happen, they would have had to shoot him. If you see that whole video, you have a different impression than a bunch of racist cops found an innocent black guy and decided to beat him up for laughs. So this is an instance where, in order to keep our cities from burning to the ground, people in the media need to give everyone all the facts, not just the minimum amount of facts, so that people end up in maximum racial acrimony and violence, which is what our media do, unfortunately, as they stir the pot, divide the country, and pit us against each other along racial lines.
DeRoy, thank you so much for coming on with us today. It's a pleasure to have you. I know a lot of this information is developing here in the moment, and we're going to continue to cover that and make sure that we are hearing from the Kentucky Attorney General as we continue to get these facts. And we look forward to following up on this issue with you next week as well, when we get you back on here. So thank you so much for the time today, DeRoy.
Okay, very good to be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. I'm curious if DeRoy has some of the facts that have just come out here, and we're going to follow up on them, because I'm as confused as anybody. I don't know about you, Katie and Ryan, but there's so much information that is out there right now about what we knew before the Kentucky Attorney General was speaking and what we know now. And, even I didn't want to challenge DeRoy on this, because this is fresh. This is
right.
Information that is just coming out here. But even the Louisville Courier General had reported before this that Taylor's name, birth date, and social security number were listed on the warrant. And the outlet also reported it includes her street address, apartment number, and photos of her apartment door, which police later broke using a battering ram. That is from that reporting. The idea that the wrong address was that portion of the story, I believe, has been debunked, and we're going to follow up on that as well. continue to comment with us here as we are watching and reacting to this. We are going to have some sound as well from some of the stuff that we have been listening to previously. And you know, like I said, just to be very clear here, this is very fresh and it is a difficult thing. Just going to be completely forthright and honest with you. We are trying to absorb this information right here. I don't have any more answers than you do because this just happened and didn't want to put anybody on the spot there. So we're gonna take a quick break because we took a long time to cover everything that the Attorney General was talking about there. We'll come back and we'll continue to follow up with this. We have Tim Jones when we come back. Is that correct?
Tim Jones is going to be with us at 2:07.
2:07. So
Yep.
do we have an open break?
Yes, we do.
Okay, 314-241-9797. If you would like to weigh in on what's going on, please continue to have this conversation with us here on the Annie Frey Show Facebook Live page or the Annie Frey YouTube page. And we are going to continue to get to these facts and dispel some of the myths that are out there that have been created that a lot of people have been very emotionally reacting to here. And we're going to bring you the facts. And remember, breaking news happens. We want to bring it to you as it happens, and we are going to get you the truth as we walk through this. And we'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
I got a hole in me now. Yeah, I got a scar I can talk about. She keeps a picture of me in her apartment in the city. But some things in this world, man, they don't make sense. There's some things you don't need until they leave you.
Decision 2020 is here at 971talk.com/election. Brought to you by Hanson's Tree Service. Contact Hanson's Tree Service. Our work is tremendous. 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here for my friends at Pretzel Stop. You've heard me talking about Pretzel Stop for a while now. They're right there on Jungerman Road, just off Highway 94 next to Kohl's and across from Walmart. And Tony and his team are doing a great job. They've got an enormous variety of brats and sausages stuffed into a pretzel bun. But Pretzel Stop's about a lot more than that. They've got gourmet sandwiches, the chicken salad pretzel sandwich. They've got gourmet burgers on a pretzel bun, barbecue on that warm pretzel bun, and even pretzel pizza. And they've got pretzel bites that are out of this world. Do yourself a favor and stop by there. They've got desserts like fruit smoothies and sinful sundaes, and they've got you covered. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, catering. They can even customize the shape of pretzels for parties. So for more information, check them out online. You can find them at pretzelstop.com or at 1650 Jungerman Road in St. Peters.
Michael's Flooring Outlet has 3 locations for you to walk into, to walk onto, because they have their display models like laid out on the floor so you can get a really good vibe as to what this flooring is going to look like, as opposed to flipping through the internet, which you can do as well. michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The best customer sales staff in the business. When you go into some of these other stores that have flooring, but they sell their flooring next to their refrigerators or the paint. You're going to get options there, of course, but you're not going to get the expertise that you need to make this kind of a purchase. You definitely get that when you are with Michael's staff at Michael's Flooring Outlet. Right now, they have a ton of waterproof flooring and they buy lots of stock so that they can pass on the savings to you. Today, what people typically refer to as waterproof flooring is a floating vinyl plank floor, and it commonly looks like wood. Sometimes it can also resemble stone, and so great alternative for your kitchen or your bathroom areas as well. It prevents the dangers of moisture to a floor, easy to clean and maintain, and waterproof flooring is great for kids and pets. If you are in the market for flooring, go online to michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1979. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy Buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1979. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1979. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-777-1979. 800-777-1979.
It's always there for us, ready to welcome us home, to fill an empty stomach, to wash away the day, and help us say goodnight. At Spire, we deliver more than natural gas. We deliver fuel for good friends, for good moms, and for good snuggles. Plus rebates to help you save energy and money. We are Spire, and together, we are fuel for good.
Every day, Ameren works to deliver reliable energy throughout the region to on-the-go families, new parents, in-the-know grandparents, busy students, night owls, weekend warriors, and more. But did you know we also have options to help manage and track your energy, like paperless billing, outage notifications, pick a due date, and so much more. So no matter who you are or how you use your energy, there's an option that's right for you. Learn more at ameren.com/options.
Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. When it needs help, call the experts at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Their certified technicians repair all brands of doors and openers. And you can even schedule evening and weekend service. Just call 314-781-5200. And always look for the red ribbon. It's your assurance you've got the genuine, the original Overhead Door. The most trusted garage door company in St. Louis since 1926. For same-day service, schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. In addition to heating and cooling, Air Comfort Service also offers indoor air quality, water heater, and AeroSeal duct sealing services. Get in your comfort zone with aircomfortservice.com.
Hi, it's Michael Mohan with Community Mortgage. With all the bad news out there, it's easy to miss the good news. Mortgage rates are at historic lows, making now a great time to buy or refinance a home. My customers are locking in the best rates in a generation. Now is the time to use the equity in your home to cash out for a remodel, pay off high-interest credit card debt, or rid yourself of the dreaded PMI. During these volatile times, you need an experienced local loan officer working for you. Call me, Michael Mohan, at 314-336-6050. I'm here in St. Louis, and when you call, you talk to me. Whether you are purchasing or refinancing, I want to help you save money on your home loan. Michael Mohan at Community Mortgage, 314-336-6050. Online at communitymortgagestl.com.
Community Mortgage LLC, NMLS 250-353-224-143.
If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, oh, bring it to me.
Justice must be done. In the early morning hours of March 13th, officers from LMPD executed a search warrant at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4. This was Miss Breonna Taylor's residence. The officers were advised by superiors to knock and announce their presence in serving this specific search warrant. The scope of our investigation did not include the obtainment of that warrant by LMPD's Criminal Interdiction Division. Federal law enforcement partners are conducting that investigation. Sergeant Mattingly and Detectives Cosgrove and Hankinson had no known involvement in the preceding investigation or obtainment of the search warrant. They were called into duty as extra personnel to effectuate the service of the search warrant. They only had information conveyed to them during their prior briefing. Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officer's statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in a proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there's no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicates that only 1 shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through a bedroom window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child.
The Kentucky Attorney General announcing the charges from the grand jury in Louisville, Kentucky right now. And we have discovered a few things, a few key important notes that go against the narrative that has been out there so far. And that is that while the officers had a no-knock warrant, they did not execute it as a no-knock warrant. They did announce their presence. They did knock, and they did allow the individuals inside of the apartment to know that the police were there. And I think it's important to note that even after announcing that they were the police, they did take fire. The first shot that was fired in this instance was from Breonna Taylor's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend at the time. I'm not 100% sure about the relationship status there, but the man that was with Breonna Taylor inside of that apartment fired the first shot at the police officers. Key note here, after they announced that they were there. So when people say, yes, they did have a no-knock warrant, they did. It is factual that they had a no-knock warrant issued to them, but they did not execute that warrant as a no-knock warrant. So when you knock on the door and you identify yourself as the police and you open that door and you take fire, that is a key part of the story that has not been part of this narrative so far. And I definitely think it's something that we need to address here. I'm getting a lot of comments here in our chat that we have going on the Facebook Live and the Annie Frey YouTube Live. A lot of people very frustrated with the fact that these facts have been so misconstrued in the media and peddled in the media. You know, there are people who are out there taking these tragic stories and profiting off of these stories. The unrest is of value to individuals. And it is so sad, so incredibly sad that Breonna Taylor lost her life. And now we are going to be stuck in the minutia of what really happened versus the narrative that has been out there. And there are many people, Katie, I asked you, like I said, Katie, I'll just ask you here on the air. What we know now from the Attorney General, what has the information that has been presented, how does that compare to the narrative that has existed in the people who have been very upset and frustrated and angered by the Breonna Taylor case the truth versus what has been the narrative so far? How do those compare?
So different. They are so different from one another. Initially, I think everyone thought that she was asleep in her bed. They did not knock. They blew open the door. They entered and they shot Breonna Taylor and her significant other in their bedroom while they were sleeping. That was the narrative that's been pushed this whole entire time. And look, an hour and a half ago, before reading into it, and seeing the facts, that's what I thought happened. And, it's a whole different ballgame when you put everything together. Unfortunately, that is what has been said. That is what is going to be believed. And the facts no longer matter. It is these officers, 2 officers did not get charged. And there's going to be so much unrest in the streets because of this, because nobody is reading into it. Nobody is looking at the facts.
The truth being out there now, does it change anything for that community of people who has been so enraged and upset about the death of Breonna Taylor? Are there going to be less people protesting in the street now because of the facts that have been put out?
No. People are good. People are ready to rumble. It's already happening in Kentucky, and it's going to leak over to many, many other cities that have been already in a tumultuous spot. It's just going to keep happening.
The real tragedy here is, regardless of, I am not a fan of people who, in the instance of Mike Brown, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, if you want to give me the rap sheet of things that they have maybe been involved in the past to justify the ends, I'm not interested in that. If you're a criminal, you don't automatically deserve death. But we as an American people do deserve truth. And you don't get to not pay attention to the truth, to subsidize some narrative, to demonize our law enforcement. We need truth and justice for everybody involved. Breonna Taylor's life is not going to be avenged by protests in the street, especially when those protesters are not paying attention to truth and facts. And the truth of all of this is that any sort of racial disparity that exists in our country, we can't pay attention to it when we don't first address facts. We have some facts now, and I fear for what's coming up next. We'll be back with Tim Jones in just a minute.
Lombardo Homes understands we are working through unprecedented times. The safety of our customers and our team members is our top priority. Lombardo Homes displays and communities are open with added safety measures for your comfort. Team members are available for personalized appointments and video tours. Floor plan virtual tours are also available. Talk to a sales manager to learn about the advantages of building a new home now. For more information, visit our website at lombardohomes.com.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, healthcare, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness 101 for many years, Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 3 times a week. Yes, 3 times every weekend. Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness 101, now 3 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey guys, Glover here from my friends at ARCA, Assisted Recovery Centers of America. So alcohol and opioid addiction is a huge problem in America, as you know. And with the coronavirus, it's become even worse. Just know that there is help right here in our community. Call ARCA at 314-645-6840 or visit arcamidwest.com. Everything is professional, everything is compassionate, and everything is private. That's arcamidwest.com for help.
Hello, everybody. This is Sean Rimmerman, your host of We're Having a Senior Moment, every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. on 97.1 FM Talk. Are you concerned about a loved one, someone who's not always as safe, as secure, and as independent as possible in whatever setting they call home? Give us a call at 314-965-9600. We'll be happy to help you and them to live their best lives possible. Remember, 314-965-9600.
You have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1979. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1979. That's 800-777-1979. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1979. 800-777-1979.
Mark Cox here. If you need to drop a few pounds, call my friends at Slim 180. Get back in shape, feel great, keep the weight off. You can use their traditional program, the medically supervised HCG Rapid Weight Loss, or the new Quick Start LipoLean. I use the HCG Rapid Weight Loss program, and the weight dropped off in a hurry, sometimes 1.5 pounds a day. All the Slim 180 centers are following COVID-19 guidelines to keep you safe. They've got gloves and masks and plexiglass dividers. You work with their counselors and their doctors one-on-one, either in person or remotely. They can even mail you products or have curbside pickup. You can schedule your free consultation today. They also work with flex spending and health savings account cards. 6 locations: O'Fallon, St. Charles, Sunset Hills, Creve Coeur, Chesterfield, and Florissant. Visit them online today and set up your initial appointment at myslim180.com.
KFTK FM Florissant, K254CR St. Louis, driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group, 97.1 FM Talk, a radio.com station.
Tears on the streets of Louisville. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. An emotional reaction from some protesters as charges are announced stemming from the police shooting of Breonna Taylor, but not specifically over her death. Fox's Jeff Manasso with more live.
Lisa, no charges in Breonna Taylor's death, though one of 3 Louisville police officers is indicted by a grand jury on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for bullets that traveled into a neighboring apartment during a narcotics raid in March.
At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child.
Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron confirming the warrant was legal and that Taylor's boyfriend fired the first shot, injuring another officer, as we now also await more protest reaction in Louisville under a state of emergency. Lisa.
Thanks, Jeff. The mayor declaring that state of emergency. The attorney general also confirming that the warrant in Taylor's apartment was not served as a no-knock warrant. The California's governor wants to put gasoline-powered cars in the state's rear-view mirror. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal, live in L.A.
Yeah, Lisa, California Governor Gavin Newsom announced he's signing an executive order to stop selling new gasoline-powered cars and trucks by the year 2035. This does not mean, though, that people can't own or drive gas-powered cars or sell used ones. Newsom says it's meant to address climate change and says the state cannot have a completely carbon-free economy by 2045 if changes aren't made in the transportation sector now.
Transportation sector, we have seen an actual increase, modest though it may be, an increase in total emissions, while we've seen a decrease in other sectors.
When asked why he's pushing this through on executive order rather than legislatively, Newsom said the moment demands movement and leadership. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. America is listening to Fox News.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So what do you provide? Cookie cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it's a right fit for you. And check out the podcast from the Associated Press, Ground Game, hosted by AP's digital editor, Megan Crane.
Attention St. Louis homeowners. Are you looking to sell your house without all the stress? Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis can buy your house cash and close on your timeline. No commissions, no repairs, no appraisals, no showings, no headache. Call John now, 314-782-7000, or go online to chrisbuysHomesSTL.com to get a free no-obligation cash offer for your house. Behind on payments? The tenant stopped paying the rent? The house needs too many repairs? Not a problem. John buys houses in any condition and deals with any situation. There's a reason why Chris Buys Homes is the most trusted home buyer in St. Louis. Go online to get your free offer today. chrisbuysHomesSTL.com or call 314-782-7000. That's 314-782-7000.
This Wednesday at 6 o'clock, 97.1 FM Talk brings you I'm Listening. An open conversation about mental health. You're invited to tune in for a self-checkup from 6 to 8. Or stream the event live through radio.com. I'm Listening. A conversation about mental health. This Wednesday evening on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hello, home lovers. Let's plan an awesomely successful visit to your lovely home with samples and ideas for stylish, elegant custom window fashion, designer fabrics, drapery, blinds, shades, and shutters. Just contact Michael at ProctorDrapery.com. 7 days. It's Proctor, spelled like doctor.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
All right, we love to talk about whiskey here on the Annie Frey Show. Stumpy Spirits Distillery is partnering here with us, and I could not be more excited. I went and visited Stumpy's a couple weeks ago in Columbia, Illinois. They are a family-owned distillery, an 8th-generation farm family. Here is a little backstory on Stumpy's and why I adore their whiskey, not just because of the flavor and the work that goes into it, but the story. The story is so cool. Stumpy's Spirits is extremely unique in that they're only one of 2 or 3 distilleries in the United States that grows the grains, distills the grains, and bottles their spirits on their family-owned farm. And it's right here in Illinois, folks. This is really cool. Stumpy's fine spirits are what is known in the wine industry as estate grown and bottled. But Stumpy's Spirits likes to call it grain to glass. And I have to tell you, when I was walking around the distillery there, I was obsessed with every label that they put together. Their t-shirts are amazing. Makes me have that home feel, that Illinois love that I have. And I know that you're going to have that too. Mention Annie Frey from 97.1 FM Talk, and you're going to receive a 5% discount on all merchandise purchased on site during your visit. And listeners can purchase Unbroken Original Vodka at your local Schnucks Markets, Total Wine and More, Friar Tuck, Dirt Cheap, and other fine retail locations. It's Stumpy's Spirits Distillery, folks, the very best. Go check them out today.
Dear beloved home, I can still remember the day we met. It was love at first sight. We've been together a while now, and you've protected us from everything St. Louis's weather has thrown at you. Don't take this the wrong way. Your old siding and shabby roof is giving away your age. You're still beautiful on the inside, but it's time for a new look. That's where Mosby Building Arts comes in. Mosby has a team of roofing and siding specialists that we can trust to get you what you need. Whether it's a new roof to weather any storm or insulated siding to keep us cool on a hot summer day, Mosby will make you look even better than the day we met. And their 10-year warranty will keep you that way for a long time to come.
Need new siding or a new roof? Call Mosby at 314-909-1800 or visit callmosby.com.
Mosby Building Arts. Home never felt so good.
This Wednesday at 6 o'clock, 97.1 FM Talk brings you I'm Listening. I'm Listening. An open conversation about mental health. You're invited to tune in for a self-checkup from 6 to 8. Or stream the event live through radio.com. I'm Listening. I'm Listening. A conversation about mental health. This Wednesday evening on 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk is on the radio and online, on your smart speaker, on your phone, and streaming anytime at 971talk.com. Find it all at radio.com. 97.1 FM Talk. The Annie Frey Show is sponsored by Forensic IT, the tech experts that find the root cause of your technical problems. ForensicIT.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
You need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Thank you for choosing us this afternoon. We are very grateful that you are here with us. We have been following the breaking news of the announcement of an indictment in the death of Breonna Taylor, the shooting of her that took her life. Fired Louisville officer indicted on criminal charges, but not her death. Brett Hankison, who was a detective who was a part of that, is indicted on 3 counts of wanton endangerment in the first degree. I want to get straight to our guest here, Katie. Let's get to Tim Jones. Joins us every Wednesday.
Another great night for Donald Trump.
No collusion, no obstruction.
This is Armageddon.
You know, I brought you Outlander.
Brought to you by Arrowhead Building Supply.
Tim, thank you for joining us today. This is one of those days where I had about 10 things I wanted to talk to you about, but the first and foremost, there's this issue of the Breonna Taylor case, and Ryan is going to set us up here a little bit, because one of the big questions surrounding this is whether or not they were supposed to be at Breonna Taylor's apartment in the first place. Ryan has the warrant, and then Tim, we're going to get your reaction to all of this here in a second. Ryan, go ahead with the information that you have right now.
Yeah, this is also from USA Today. It says misinformation shared on social media suggested the officers showed up at the wrong house, but police had a search warrant signed by Circuit Judge Mary Shaw for Taylor's address and for her. The report also shows that LMPD's new place-based investigation squad spent about 2.5 months conducting heavy surveillance. Breonna Taylor was linked to suspects in that investigation, according to the report, because a car registered in her name stopped in early January at one of the properties being watched. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just Tim, your reaction to all of this and so much of the misinformation that has been out here has been responsible for so much unrest. But yet here we are, and there are charges, maybe not what people were hoping for. What's your reaction to the whole situation?
Yeah, Annie, first of all, major tragedy, right? And condolences, thoughts, and prayers continue to go out to the Taylor family. This is a horrible incident. It's a tragedy. And as my friend, Attorney General Cameron, mentioned, he said, nothing I do or say is going to change the fact that this is first and foremost a tragedy. I thought he did an excellent job in that press conference. I met Daniel Cameron about a year and a half ago, before around the time he was running for AG. He happens to be a very close friend of one of my very close friends, Jonathan Schell, who was the former majority leader in the Kentucky legislature. So I guess there's 1 degree of separation between Daniel Cameron and I at most. I've met him 3 or 4 or 5 times at various events. He's a very serious person. I don't know if people know this or not. I don't know if this is relevant or not. The liberal media would make it relevant. I think if the shoe were on the other foot. Daniel Cameron's an African-American. He's the first African American elected as Attorney General for the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. I think it's notable that he's the first Republican African American. So, whether that matters to people or not, I think fact that should be noted. He's going to have a particular interest in this case, given his background and so on and so forth. So that being said, I thought Daniel Cameron basically said, look, I'm going to look at this factually. I'm not going to let any of my predispositions or anything about me affect this case or anything about the media affect this case. I'm looking for the facts. That's what prosecutors do. I think I've mentioned this before. People may know a little bit about my history. I'm a recovering attorney, but I once was very much a practicing attorney. I practiced before all the courts of this state up to the Supreme Court. My first job was in the county of Nassau for the state of New York, representing the people of the state of New York as an assistant prosecuting attorney in Nassau County. I handled a heavy docket in a very busy part, very similar to St. Louis County, except about 5 times as larger in Nassau County District Court. Also did felony arraignments. So cases like this came across my desk before they went on to the upper level court for disposition. This is the beginning of this case. People need to realize that. And I don't want to make light of anything, but there's an old saying amongst us attorneys that you can indict a ham sandwich. What that means is it's not extremely difficult to get an indictment if you have enough facts to basically prove probable cause. Probable cause is your initial standard for proceeding with a criminal investigation. It is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's several levels below that, right? So just because there's an indictment here does not mean there is or is not going to be any kind of conviction. We have a long way to go. And as you just pointed out, what a shame that we live in such a culture that I call the judge, jury, and executioner culture. You can call it the cancel culture. You can call it whatever you want. It's a bad culture right now where so many people are prejudged based on what they read or what they think they read in the media. And, the media seems to take certain incidences, and if they're about certain people and certain other people, and you can fill in the blanks there, then the media seems to automatically judge to the same exact conclusion every single time, and that's that the police officer actors are guilty. And in some cases, that may very well be true. In other cases, it may not. But the worst thing in the world, and we've dealt with this with so many things over the last few years, where an incident comes out, the media, the liberal media, make the drive-by media, makes a decision at the forefront as to what they think the verdict should be. And then they write that story. And then when the real facts come out, if they're different from the initial impression, it is so hard to unring that bell, right? Because the bell has been rung and there's nothing you can do to take back the ringing of that bell. So that initial sound, that peal of judgment, is in the ears of everyone across the nation. And then it takes a lot of convincing and a lot of explaining to unring that. So I'm not passing judgment one way or the other. I only know what I've heard and what I've read about this case. And apparently a lot of what I've heard and read has been wrong. And so we've got a long way to go with this. The charge of wanton endangerment. Kentucky is a commonwealth. That means they do some things a little differently than other places. The state of Louisiana is based on ancient French law. Commonwealths have certain other things. I'm not going to get in the weeds on that. It's a little tedious and boring. Suffice it to say that is basically similar to what we would know under Missouri law and a lot of other states as involuntary manslaughter. It's acting with a reckless disregard or kind of a negligent homicide. Sometimes negligent homicide is a lesser included charge in involuntary manslaughter. So what is it not? It's not premeditated. It's not first degree or even second degree. It's one of the lower levels. It's still a homicide, right? All these things are homicides. They're all considered the death, the killing of a person by another person. But there's certain degrees of that. We categorize. We make judgments when we write laws, right? We make judgments when we write laws. We make judgments when we pass judgment under the law. And so an involuntary manslaughter is basically something that if the police officers were guilty of that, it would be that they acted with a reckless disregard. They should have used more care. They should have used more caution. There was one particular moment where I caught Daniel Cameron making a very specific point about the warrant being a no-knock versus a knock warrant. Mm-hmm. And I think he made that point because of this movement we've had the last few years, which I think has been good in many regards, of criminal justice reform, basically throttling back the powers of the law enforcement branch somewhat, right? And or the judiciary itself with criminal penalties. So this is on the front end, right? This is the law enforcement part. This is no-knock warrants. A no-knock warrant means the judge has granted you a warrant that you can bust right in, right? Because a lot of times they'll use that for like drug cases, right? So you're going to a known drug location, potentially to go after a big drug kingpin or a pusher or a seller. And the last thing you want them to do is you're knocking on the door, may I please come in? And they're flushing all the cocaine down the toilet, right? So a no-knock is you're going in hardcore, you're going in hot, you're going in with the battering ram, you're taking the door down, you're throwing the cuffs on and putting everybody on the ground as soon as you can so you don't get shot with the automatic weapons and the evidence doesn't get flushed down the drain or thrown out the window. So this was not that. This was not a no-knock warrant. They actually had to knock, and Daniel Cameron laid out the basic facts as he knows them. So long story short, we got a long way to go in this case, and I hope that this exhaustive dissertation laid out by an excellent articulate attorney, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, will help to maybe cool some of the passions so we can have reasonable reactions to whatever the ultimate verdict or outcome of this case may be.
Are there federal charges that could be in addition to these?
Yes. And so that would, this is going to sound a little esoteric because the federal government would act under the Civil Rights Act. People are like, well, what does that have to do with a criminal case? It has to do with due process and equal protection under the law, right? So the federal government generally doesn't intervene on a state criminal law matter, right? What would the FBI and or the Department of Justice intervene on? A violation of federal law under U.S. Code. So under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, and it may be under Title VII. I haven't looked at this in a very long time. But basically, you're wondering if did these state law enforcement actors violate the constitutional rights of Breonna Taylor or anybody else by not effectuating their arrest or their actions through proper constitutional means under the U.S. Constitution, the due process rights, the equal protection rights, all the rights that are afforded every potential defendant in the country under that. So it's actually it's a very weird kind of way to maybe find someone liable for something. And what they might do is go against the police department itself for not having proper procedures in place. Very similar to what happened here in Ferguson, right? So we had federal action there, remember? And the federal government, the Department of Justice came in and they examined the city of Ferguson. And remember, largely Barack Obama and Eric Holder's Department of Justice didn't find a whole lot wrong with Ferguson. They issued some reports and recommendations and things. There's never any actual action as far as I could remember. But that's how the federal government gets involved. It's under constitutional rights owed to every defendant in every state, no matter what the state is, under the U.S. Constitution.
Tim, thank you so much for coming on and following up some legal perspective on this issue. There's going to be a lot coming in the days ahead, and we'll be sure to tune in Sunday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. right here on 97.1 FM Talk to hear the Tim Jones Show. We will talk to you again soon. Speaker Tim Jones, thank you so much.
Thank you, Annie, and Ryan, Katie, great job covering this very important story. And again, I just tell people complicated situations like this that in the way they were involved, you really got to make sure that you understand all the facts as best we know them before anybody renders judgment or declares that anything needs to be done. If there was an injustice, it needs to be corrected. But we got to know the facts and apply the law appropriately.
Tim Jones Show, Sunday night, 7 to 9. I agree with you there. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back, and we're going to change the subject a little bit when we return here because we are going to have Madison County Board member Erica Harris on, and this is a story that I've been following closely, and I know that a lot of people have been reaching out to the Annie Frey Show to find out the updates on this. Ryan, you're an Illinois resident. You're in Region 4. You are on a proverbial lockdown with me as well, as we both live in this area. How are these tests being counted? And as businesses are shutting down, and I'm seeing, it seems like every day a business owner posting something on Facebook saying we can't do this any longer, and they're at their wits' end. What is it for? Are they counting these tests correctly? What happens if they are miscounting these tests and these people are losing their businesses based on bad math? Erica Harris with Madison County Board is going to join us to give us the latest on this pursuit, in her words, to rally for the truth for Madison County. And I have a feeling that the potential fallout from this could be statewide. We'll talk to Erica Harris in just a minute.
We gon' burn the whole house down. We gon' burn the whole house down.
Hey guys, Glover here. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the DGS.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. As an active investor around the country, I'm always looking at market trends. Joining me now is Mark and Neil Gelman of Coldwell Banker Premier. All right, so how's the real estate market right now?
So, Sean, the market right now is extremely strong. We're certainly in a seller's market with less than 2 months of inventory. The good news, though, for buyers is historic low interest rates. So overall, if you're a buyer right now, you have to be patient for that right home. Seller, get your home on the market because it's an amazing time to sell.
How are you helping sellers get the most money for their home?
As Mark suggested, the market's extremely strong, but the key is to make sure you prepare your home properly for sale before you put it on the market. The other thing is to make sure that we price it properly and the Gelman team will market it to the fullest potential.
All right, as always, thanks for the insight. Make the call I would make in St. Louis. Call Mark and Neil Gelman, 314-336-1991. Online at thegelmanteam.com.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, healthcare, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
The Springfield politicians are pushing a constitutional amendment on the November ballot.
It would give the General Assembly new powers to drastically change income taxes in Illinois.
If passed, Springfield politicians would have the power to create an unlimited number of tax brackets and raise income rates on every group of taxpayers at will, including middle-income families.
Their tax hike amendment would approve in advance any future tax increases politicians want to impose, with no limits, no accountability, and no voter approval of the rates.
And it would immediately authorize an initial $3 billion tax increase on small businesses, farmers, and large employers, further damaging our economy.
The tax hike amendment is a bad idea at the worst possible time. Join thousands of small businesses across Illinois and vote no.
Paid for by the Coalition to Stop the Proposed Tax Hike Amendment.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Window World. So Window World is a national company, but locally owned and operated here in St. Louis. Couple of North County boys, good people, good guys, just looking to do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. So we only really have one big competitor. These are the guys that sell the $3,000 windows, negotiate them down to $2,000. You feel like a champ, but ours are still a fraction of that. For $2,000 even, you could do a whole house full of windows with Window World. We're one of only 2 window companies in the country that have the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Better Business Bureau, Angie's List, Home Advisor. Everyone loves Window World. So check them out at windowworld.com or call 314-993-1800. Make sure you mention me for special financing offers. They have a lifetime warranty, a lifetime guarantee. Once you pay for that window, you'll never spend another dime on it. That's windowworld.com.
Well, I gotta know what the traffic's like.
Dependable traffic.
I want to get to work on time.
For your morning and afternoon commute.
He's got a hideous jam.
With Sue Thomas. Driven by Ambassador Floor Company. With 100% employee installation. Experience more at Ambassador Floor.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel. My heart's in overdrive and you're behind the steering wheel. Touching you, touching me, touching you, got you touching me. I believe in a thing called love, just a turn of my heart. There's a chance we can make it now. When I look into the sun yourself, I believe in a thing called love.
Just going into the details of this a little bit further, there's so many details that are against the narrative that we've been told. Now, just hang on a second, too. Annie's internet just crashed right before we started this break, so
The darn internet.
we're figuring out where she's at. She'll probably jump back in here in just a second. But Katie, as we were just talking about off the break,
Yes.
it's fascinating. There have been, and I don't know why that we've done this because we're in the news, obviously. There's been, but to me, there's so many cases out there that have contributed to these different narratives that we've all just trusted that what we've heard about each case is true. And then the more we dig into the cases, the more we find out that maybe what's being shared on social media, which is basically where most people get their news now.
Yes.
I mean, it's on us to look into these details more, which is why we've been doing what we've been doing today. But the general narrative that we all understand kind of falls apart the more that we get details.
Correct. And I mean, as I said before, Facebook and Twitter are huge outlets and considered probably news sources for a lot of people. And back in March, when we didn't have all of the facts and we were presented with this initial case, that's what we've been basing everything off of since March up until noon today.
Sure. And there's been so many cases that have led to I mean, George Floyd was kind of the main one that kicked off the violent part of this, but this came from March. And there've been a few, I don't remember the gentleman's name in Atlanta that was a part of kind of this building, this growing thing that ended up happening and kind of boiling over in June. But Breonna Taylor was one of those. And because if it was just Breonna Taylor, I feel like we all would have been better informed. But because there have been so many random cases that have caught everybody's attention briefly, we haven't gotten to dig into each of them as much as we've gotten to dig into this one today. And just to if you're tuning in and you haven't been paying attention to what we've been doing, the Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron came out and gave a pretty lengthy statement about the case involving Breonna Taylor in Louisville. They're expecting violence tonight. I don't know if it started today. I'm not watching the screen like you are, Katie.
People are protesting right now. It seems very peaceful, but that's what it's starting out as.
Yeah.
Right
and
now.
So we wait and see tonight if it does become violent there or elsewhere, which we're all hoping and praying against. But the facts of the case, as he was stating them, he wasn't stating them in a way that said, well, everybody's saying this, but here's the real fact. He just said, here are the actual facts of the case. And then we, as he was giving them, were realizing in real time, wait a minute, a lot of the things that we all assumed were true and knew for sure about this case are not real. Here's just a list that I've put together here. They did not use a no-knock warrant. This was not the wrong apartment. Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker were not asleep. They were standing up. Kenneth Walker was pointing a gun at the police when they came in, and he fired a shot into one of the officers' legs before the police returned fire and hit Breonna Taylor. Still a tragedy, absolutely,
yes,
but the facts surrounding it are just not they're not what we all believed about the case.
Yeah, and it's I was just talking to Andrew from the Dave Glover show outside for a little bit, and we were just talking about the protests and what's going to happen next. And both of us were like, the protests are going to happen because a life was lost. Breonna Taylor, she died.
Right.
And so that's why they're going to continue. Now, are people going to, maybe some people in the protests will realize that a police officer was shot first, and that's why 3 of the officers shot back. So maybe they will realize that, but I hate to say this, but when you're already out there, does it matter to the protesters? Do the facts of what just unfolded, do they matter?
I don't know. And in this case specifically, a lot of these, they happen and then there's an initial kind of reaction to it in that community. In this case, we knew, well, not in this case necessarily from March, but we knew at this moment that this announcement was coming. So it kind of gives protesters who we know travel around the country. We know that happened in Ferguson. That's not unique to this year. We know that there will be people who have descended upon Louisville to, maybe incite violence tonight. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, we've got a guest on the line right now, and I want to get to her. Sorry about the little bit of the delay there, but there's an important story happening right now in Illinois, and that story is the fact that COVID has caused certain regions throughout. We have 11 regions as designated by Governor Pritzker and IDPH in the state of Illinois regarding how we have a case positivity rate, and they're basing whether or not we get to be in phase 2 or phase 3 or so on and so forth based on what that case positivity rate is. The Metro East has had a significant case positivity rate, and the question is, how are they factoring those numbers? Somebody who you need to know right now, Erica Harris, is a member of the Madison County Board, and she is advocating for truth here. And we don't know exactly where the truth is, but I wanted to get Erica on here because we talked to her a couple weeks ago to give her the opportunity to tell us where she is in this effort to rally for the truth, as she has said before. Erica, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you giving us this update. It's good to have you back.
Hi, Annie. Thanks for having me. Always good to catch up with you.
Yes, you as well. So give us a little bit of a precursor. We played a couple weeks ago the audio from that Madison County Health Department meeting that you were also in, where it was discovered that the negative tests that go into private labs that gets reported to the Madison County Health Department, that goes into figuring out what our case positivity rate is, that goes to determine whether or not businesses get to be open or not. Private labs were not required to report those negative cases. Tell us a little bit about that meeting and how you came to raise your eyebrows enough to go, wait a second, what's going on here?
Sure. So that meeting was earlier on in September. It was the Madison County Health Department committee meeting, and we really began asking many questions to our health department director because it seemed like the number of tests that we were reporting coming out of our county seemed low for the responses that we were getting from people in our districts. And just to kind of give you a more specific example, I had people in our district calling saying, hey, my business alone is doing 100 tests, or my business alone is doing 400 tests. And so kind of putting that together, it just seemed like we aren't reporting enough tests to like something's missing, right? So we started a line of questioning thinking something is missing here. So that's really how it began. And as you know, during that department committee meeting, it was determined that yes, potentially some of the negatives might not be being counted was the outcome of that result, right? So our local health department director said that it was possible that some of those negatives were not being counted. And that that they weren't required to be turned into the state was the message that we were getting. So after that conversation, I actually sent a letter to the Illinois Department of Public Health asking for a list of labs and groups in Madison County that are connected to Illinois Department of Public Health that are sending results straight to them. It seems like there's a few different ways that results are going in, and some of these labs, we're calling them private labs, although really, in truth, Annie, we've recently learned that BJC is one of the labs that was not connected electronically to them. So right now we don't have actual numbers of how many negatives were not being counted, but we do know that they were not being counted. That was reiterated actually earlier this week when Dr. Ezike, and she said in a public conference that they want to have every test calculated and counted in Illinois so that the test numbers can be as accurate as possible. But she said she went on to say we can only do calculations and math on the test results we've received. And she said we were made aware of the fact that Barnes-Jewish had lots of tests from the Metro East, from the Illinois area. And she went on to say they've worked with their leadership and their lab to make sure that they're sending those results electronically now so they can be included and accurately included towards the total. And so while we don't have numbers of how that, incompetent data is going to affect our positivity rate, what we do know right now is that the positivity rate is not accurate. And we've shut down businesses on a metric that's not necessarily meaningful or accurate, right?
Yeah.
If it's including test results that are negative. So definitely facts should matter.
Erica, how close the positivity rate that we've had so far that has effectively shut down this region to a great extent, how close were we to the trigger point that was set by Governor J.B. Pritzker and IDPH, his determination along with their assistance? How close has Region 4 down here been to being on the safe side and on the triggered side? Has it been close?
Well, some days closer than others, but that would be really an answer I couldn't give you because, like we said, if you're closing a region down based on percent positivity of tests, but we know we aren't counting all the tests, we cannot give you an accurate result, right? And so out of what we know is an inaccurate result, we just don't know how inaccurate. Mm-hmm. We've basically shut down our society. We have required people to remain home, put people out of work, sent businesses into bankruptcy. We're impairing our food supply chain and telling worshipers they can't go to church. So
it's ridiculous.
This is a real virus. We know that. We're not saying that. What we are saying is that facts matter, and we have to be credible if we want people to buy into even doing, safety measures. And so that's something we've been working with our health department, is just to make sure that we are doing all we can to try and get all of those results recorded.
Erica, can we hold you over for another segment since we got started a little bit late here? Do you
Sure,
mind sticking
of
around?
course.
If anybody would like to ask questions as well, please come onto the Facebook chat at facebook.com/Annie Frey Show or the Annie Frey YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe there and watch us live, and you can comment a question. I have so many questions to ask you here, and we're going to try to fit them all in before we wrap up this show. Erica Harris, hold on just a minute. We will be right back with you. More questions on this, the major concern, and I'm not telling you that this is a Region 4 issue in the state of Illinois. This is an entire state of Illinois issue. This is going to be a very big story, I believe. And Erica is on the ground floor of trying to push and pursue getting this information. Unfortunately, not always getting as much information as quickly as she's asking. We're going to talk more with Erica Harris when we return. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There's a chance we can make it now. When I look into the sun yourself, I believe in it, love.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. You're not the only one working more from inside your home. So is your HVAC system. If your system needs service, Air Comfort Service will promptly and safely be there for you. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
With all the uncertainty in the world today, our mental wellness is being tested like never before. I'm Listening is here to help and remind you that you are not alone. Join us today at 6 p.m. for a 2-hour in-depth discussion with members of TLC, Guns N' Roses, Alanis Morissette, John Bon Jovi, Jewel, and many more, along with some of the most respected names in helping and healing to share their thoughts. For more, visit imlistening.org. Remember, talk has the power to save lives.
Mark Cox here. Selling your home's a big deal. Choosing the wrong agent could cost you big time. So what if I told you you can have one of the top realtors in St. Louis working for you? How about safety and selling? No one is better prepared to help you list and sell your home safely and hassle-free from start to finish than Gloria Liu. She's with GL International Realty, part of Coldwell Banker Premier Group. Listen, Gloria has 9,000 buyers looking for homes right now. That's one of the reasons she sells faster and nets her seller 3% more money when compared to the average agent. On a $300,000 home, that's $9,000 more dollars in your pocket. Gloria is so confident she'll sell your home, she'll guarantee it. If she can't sell your home, she will buy it, and guaranteed in writing. I strongly recommend you call Gloria today. 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
It's that time of year again, where an afternoon thunderstorm can pop out of nowhere, bringing damaging winds and power outages. At Spire, we know life doesn't stop just because the power did. Thankfully, you can depend on natural gas water heaters and stoves no matter how long the power is out. And right now, choose a natural gas water heater and get up to a $300 rebate at spireenergy.com/rebates. Now that's fuel for good.
When you're looking for a refinance or to purchase another home, you've heard me talking about Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage. From personal experience myself, when I did my refinance a year ago now, we have enjoyed a significantly lower payment each month. And you know why? Because we got a lower rate. And rates are even lower now than they were when we refied last year. We used the bagel loan. And the reason why we went with Stewie and the bagel loan is because he doesn't charge you fees that other lenders absolutely will charge you for. He also focuses on making sure that you work with him throughout the entire process, and he's caring about your customer experience throughout the whole process. You're not going to get handed off from one person to the next. It is a personal experience, and you are going to be so grateful at the end of this process, with the possibility of shaving years and years off of the length of your loan. If you're happy with your payment right now, shave off that time and save all of that interest that you're going to pay. Or if you want to make a lower payment, you can do cash out refinances as well. There's no better place to go than with Stewart's American Mortgage, who I chose and who I hope that you give a call to as well. You can text him, mention the Annie Frey Show, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Call Stewie, tell him Annie said hi, and get started on your refi or home purchase mortgage today. NMLS number 226715.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at ThrottleNet.com. So it's crazy time at ThrottleNet. They are IT geniuses, but they are a little bit nutty. Right now, they will pay you $250 for a conversation about your IT support because they value your time during the crazy pandemic. They'll give you the first 30 days for free, no charge for all of their services. And then they'll pay you another $1,000 if you decide to leave in the first 30 days for your trouble. They don't anticipate that you're going to leave, but if you do, they'll shake your hand, they'll put you back where you were, and they'll write you a check for $1,000. It is completely no risk, and they reward you for your time and for your effort. They are the best IT shop in the city, named number 1 5 years straight. They are good guys. Like I said, they are geniuses at protecting you, but they can communicate. They don't stare at their shoes. They look you in the eye, and they tell you what you need to know. ThrottleNet.com/971.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Charmaine Yost.
Biden's problem is that he's running on the I'm the nice guy in this race. But then when he gets mano a mano with Donald Trump, what is that going to look like?
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
You know, just ignore that.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9.
I've been grinding so long, been trying it for years. And I got nothing to show, just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my holiday.
I don't want to take credit for being the best testing state in the nation. We're third highest among all the states. We're certainly the highest in the Midwest, which I'm very proud of. And we're monitoring closely. And you saw that we alleviated the restrictions on Region 7 just the other day. You've also seen, hopefully you're all watching, Metro East is coming down in its positivity rate. We're rooting for them.
What?
They're they're starting to get it right, and it's down in the mid sevens. Actually, I saw recently that it might be dropping below 7. So I'm prayerful and hopeful that they'll get there and we can remove the mitigations.
Oh, thank you. You're rooting for us. We almost got it right. Are you kidding me? Well, maybe one of the reasons why it's coming down is because they've started to actually do math correctly. Welcome to the party here, JB Pritzker. I cannot tell you how ridiculous it is right now to watch what is happening to the state of Illinois in the midst of what everybody else is doing, and to know that Governor Pritzker up there is saying that that Region 4 is starting to get it right. Math? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And it cannot be overstated enough that how Madison County is counting these tests is because of JB Pritzker's system that he has put together. Madison County is doing what the state of Illinois has told them to do. So if there is a fault here, if there is bad math here, you're going to need to look across the entire state to see what's going on. And I am so grateful for Erica Harris, who is on the Madison County Board, who is the one who highlighted this math question initially at the meeting a few weeks ago, and has continued to pursue truth and trying to find out what exactly is going on. Erica, thank you for holding on with us here. It's great to have you on this issue. And there are a lot of people who are starting to open their eyes to this, both locally and on the statewide system. But I want to key in here how important it is to pay attention to your local elections. I know Erica personally. I buy my purple shampoo from her. She makes this in her home. She's a mom. She's raising kids that are the same age as mine. And this is what she is dedicating her work and effort to make sure that, like, we're neighbors. These are real people. This is way more personal and local than some stupid thing that Joe Biden said or some stupid thing that Donald Trump said today. This is affecting real people. Erica, you represent District 26 on the Madison County Board. Can you tell us some story or something, an anecdote of people who are here, who are our neighbors, who are afraid of the continuation of these lockdowns based on bad math?
Sure. I mean, so in the state of Illinois, we just learned very recently, the National Restaurant Association did a survey and said, okay, 6 months following the shutdowns of restaurants, the whole industry is in limbo, and that the industry is going to lose $240 billion in sales, right? Which means we are going to have little eateries in our area that won't reopen. In Illinois alone, 78% of Illinois operators don't expect their restaurant sales to return to pre-coronavirus levels within the next 6 months. 55% of the operators say it's unlikely their restaurant's going to be in business 6 months from now. This is a big deal. And so we need to make sure that we are doing mitigations based on facts. And like you said, it recently has come to light that not all the negatives are being counted. Yes, all the positives are being counted, but not all the negatives, right? We realize this on a local level. And again, as you mentioned and pointed out, this is something that is statewide. We maybe, figured this out here in Madison County, but this is something that affects our entire state because the state is going off of those positivity rates. Now, having a conversation with our local health director here, I said to her, how could this even happen? Like, this almost seems like conspiracy theory, right? Like, no way is this happening. And so just trying to hash that out with her, she shared with me, this has disrupted typical reporting process, right? So typically when you get, the example she gave me actually was a gonorrhea test, okay? So she said, if we get a test for a positive gonorrhea test, we go ahead and send that on to the Illinois Department of Public Health. If we get a negative test, then we don't have to. So in providing a little bit of grace for the actual system of things, yes, that is typically how things were done. Of course, we don't shut down our communities and based on those types of tests. So it is super disappointing that 7 months in, we are still not getting really honest and truthful data. And also, I would like to know, and I think most people would, how off are we? We know we're missing some of those negatives, but how many negatives have we missed? Have we missed enough that it matters? We know it's not truthful, right? So there's that, but would Region 4 have even popped over 8%? We don't know right now, and that's the data that we are trying to get of just what is the reality of that. And we've asked for that information and have not been able to receive it yet. So still working on that. Getting data seems to be at a snail's pace. And I mean, personally, I was, and I think probably a lot of people are disappointed in the video or the audio that you just played. You know, instead of when they've learned this is happening and taking corrective action, they're saying they're rooting for the Metro East. Well, that's great that they're rooting for us.
And
However,
patronizing.
Right. I mean, we know that they now know that all of those negative tests aren't being counted. So let's about face, and we, have just rewritten life as we know it in the last 7 months, and mistakes will be made and grace can be given, but we need to fix those as soon as possible. So, so that would really be the effort I would hope that we could push for. I mean, life is dangerous, right? Life is a little bit dangerous. And if there was zero, if someone could die with a simple moral standard that could disqualify partaking in any other human activity like running, driving, playing sports, right? Even though those mortality rates are low, we're not going to stay in our house for that. And,
Ryan?
So,
yeah, Erica Harris, Madison County board member on the phone with us. Only a little bit of time left, Erica, but I just wanted to ask really quick, what we're kind of looking to you for leadership here because we don't trust all the leadership at the top. What are you going to be able to do, or what are you planning on doing going forward to try to get to the bottom of this, to make sure that our case positivity rate is being reported more accurately?
Well, so that's a great question. I am trying to do my own research, right? With I've sent letters to Illinois Department of Public Health and also asked our local health officials because we know that some of these labs that are automatically reporting electronically to the Illinois Department of Public Health, all of those tests are going in. There's pretty good confidence in that. So the ones we really want to know are which labs are not connected to the Illinois Department of Public Health. I do think the more light that's getting shined on this issue, I mean, they're now mentioning it in their daily announcements. So they're aware the issue's going on. I think they are going to probably, due to that, try and make some quick adjustments. I mean, my health department director actually did say to me that she had spoken with Illinois Department of Public Health, and she said she had requested an update from them as to their progress of capturing all the COVID tests in their data metrics. And she says, I know they've made considerable progress in assisting private laboratories with electronic submission of results. So as far as more of those labs get online, we will see less and less of those negatives that aren't getting reported. I have a feeling they're not going to just come hand me the data and say, oh, yep, back a few months ago, here's all the ones that we
When
missed.
they do, Erica, you come find me and we will have another conversation. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Thank you for fighting for answers. And we don't know what this is going to put forward, but the truth and the real math is what we need. And Erica Harris, representing District 26 in Madison County on the Madison County board, you were doing that for us, and we are grateful for it. Erica, great to talk to you. We will be in touch for sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yep, we'll talk to you again soon. Erica Harris joining us there. And I have to say, when you see people who are professional politicians doing this, you're like, okay, that's your job. But she is just like any of you, and any of us. And she wants what's best for Illinois. And it's good to see somebody who is so eager but polite in the way that they are advocating for that truth, going after it. So please, if you haven't yet, consider going and following her on her Facebook page, the Erica Harris, Madison County board member Facebook page, because she's updating there too as she gets numbers. The numbers have gone, the percentage is going down. The case positivity rate is going down, and it is going down with significance. And it's after what she's been pushing on the Madison County board. Does that make you go, what the heck is going on in the state of Illinois? Because it sure does me. Does this make you mad, Ryan?
Thank God for people like her, because she could just punch the clock, but she is diligently seeking out the truth. And we need people like that in government to do that.
And it's
Yes, it makes me
local.
mad.
It's right
Yes.
here. It's infuriating, but nothing would make me happier than the truth being exposed so that we can get back to business, people. We can be smart. We can acknowledge what's going on around us, and we can be the adults that we are and handle it without Papa Pritzker up in Chicago, not Springfield, telling us how to live our lives or not to live our lives. I'm sick and tired of it. You guys, big show today. The Dave Glover Show is going to have all of the news as well. Stick around. They'll be here in just a minute.
I'm listening daily. You are